Yo, this is Set with Set Media, man. I'm here to talk to you about our partner, Kalshi. Kalshi is the largest legal prediction market in the United States with over 1 million users. It's available in all 50 states. They are a real money market, people trading on what they think will happen. You can build a position and trade in and out of almost any prediction you think. Kalshi facilitates trade between people kind of like the stock market. There's no limiting your trades just because you're winning. Kalshi will pay you interest on your position. So if you make a long-term trade, you can earn a return even before the market is resolved. If you want to try out Kalshi, go ahead and give them a try, guys, at my link, kalshi.com/setmedia. Get $20 when you trade 20, so it's 20 for 20, guys. Once again, that's kalshi.com/setmedia. Go ahead and use my code setmedia to get $20 when you trade 20. Let's go ahead and take a look here at Kalshi, because like I said, it is a trading market where you can put in your prediction and you can go ahead and earn interest on that. You can make money off the knowledge that you know, and if you put $20 in, you get $20 back. So all right, guys, make sure to go check out my guy at Kalshi, because you can get in on good trades like who will Trump nominate as Fed chair, will Ali Khamenei be outed as the supreme leader, and will the US confirm that aliens exist before 2027. So if you want to get in on this action, once again, go ahead and go to my partners at Kalshi. Go ahead and use the link, or you can hit the QR code above and use Set Media to go ahead and get $20 when you trade 20. This is Set from Set Media, and shout out to Kalshi. Yo, and we are live. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, guys, and I'm back with another one for you. All right, guys, we're about to go ahead and get into a media analysis, because it does look like we might start popping back off strikes on Iran in the coming days. So let's get right into it. Let's not forget to double tap that screen, like the video, and let's start off on the right side of media with Fox.
President Trump says time is running out for Iran, urging them to come to the table before it's too late.
So he spoke with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu yesterday as the two leaders reportedly weigh resuming military action against the regime.
I think the Prime Minister absolutely wants to do that. Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yinks is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. The Middle East remains on edge, waiting to see if the war will resume in the days ahead. Overnight, President Trump taking to Truth Social with a new warning for the regime. He said, for Iran, the clock is ticking and they better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. Time is of the essence. The president's post comes as reports indicate the Iranians have submitted a revised proposal to Pakistani mediators aimed at addressing some of the gaps in their previous response that President Trump described as a piece of garbage.
Therefore, from the very day after we sent our points to the American side via
So pretty much, due to the demands of the Iranian delegation, because I can show you right here, it's actually pretty crazy what they're asking for. And it's, you know what, for some of y'all it will be reasonable, for some of you you're gonna be like, absolutely not. But here's Iran's demands on the quick side. They want a full ceasefire everywhere, including Lebanon. All sanctions lifted, aka they're going to get billions of dollars back. Frozen assets released, they're going to get billions back. War damages paid, they want reparation, and the U.S. recognizes Iranian control over the Strait of Hormuz. And man, they get reparations, I swear to God, the FBA guys, we will never hear the end of it. Like, I promise you. Why did Iran get reparations? Yeah, we're not going for that. But here's the U.S. demands from Iran. Is pretty much zero compensation, so we're not giving them anything. They hand over their 400 kilograms of enriched uranium. They only get one nuclear facility, no frozen assets release, and ceasefire only if talks go well. So that's pretty much where things are pretty much standing right now. And if you ask me, yeah, it kind of does look like we're going to have to go back to kinetic strikes to see if we can actually make, Iran concede to anything that we're asking right now, because it doesn't look like they are. But all right, though, let's get right back into it. whoops here. Let's make sure I didn't lose my place. And oh, here we go.
In Pakistan, we were faced with a series of proposals from the other side, which have been reviewed over the past few days. As was announced yesterday, our own views have in turn been conveyed to the American side.
While diplomatic efforts play out, the economic situation in Iran is getting worse each day due to the ongoing U.S. blockade of Iranian ports. CENTCOM says more than 80 commercial vessels have been redirected and 4 were disabled to enforce the blockade. A senior Israeli official told Fox News that early signs are developing of a fuel crisis in Iran, with long lines at gas stations being observed. It's getting exponentially worse, the official added.
The economic situation is very, very bad. I mean, for 3 months now, the situation has completely deteriorated. Ever since these protests happened and the dollar price went up. Then, after the war started, the shop was basically closed for nearly a month. And now the situation is extremely bad.
The U.S. military buildup across the region does continue, with more transport planes arriving here each day. Guys?
Wow. So they're building.
Yeah, here's the worst part about that blockade is that Iran, they can still get their oil through. And here's the thing. I mean, hey, bro, that's complete propaganda. Let me tell you why it's complete propaganda as I show you this map again of how Iran is getting through this blockade. Like, once again, we just, hone in on Iran right here. As you can see, this body of water, the Caspian Sea right here, yep, connected to Russia. And then, of course, you got their pals over here in Pakistan that connects somewhere right to China. So this blockade over here in the Strait of Hormuz doesn't really keep them from getting to their main buyers. And that's just the fact of the matter right there. So that's why I always do say that, yeah, this whole blockade is low-key a waste of time and a waste of resources, but hey, it is what it is. This is what we're doing.
Building up, so the firepower is even greater than they had before the initial war. So you got to think, with no talks on tap, that Trey, I think it looks like we're probably going to go back unless something amazing happens.
Yeah, unless there's a breakthrough, we are likely looking at a situation where the region returns to war. President Trump holds the cards here, according to regional officials who say that his strategic patience has given him not only the upper hand on the battlefield, but also at the negotiating table. Now, the Iranians, as you heard from the foreign ministry spokesperson earlier today, are grasping at straws. They are trying to find some path forward that would give them an agreement, at least temporarily, to enter into deeper negotiations to avoid such a bombing campaign that the president has promised would target Iran's power plants and bridges. When you look at the backdrop of the economic situation inside of Iran, it is truly dire. 50% decline in the extraction of crude oil, 90% decline in the export rate for the Iranian regime. And you're starting to see it domestically. That pressure is rising on the regime in Tehran, and officials there are having to try.
But here's a problem. One, like I said, they can still get through the blockade. Two, our own intelligence said that they can last out to about 6 months. And 3, what makes you think that they're just going to wait? If anything, they're going to start attacking our allies to make us lift the blockade. I mean, they've already done it with the UAE. They started, I believe, they're probably going to be blamed for the strike on their nuclear power plant. Most likely, because it's most likely them who did it.
To sell a reality to the people that doesn't exist. They were defeated militarily during Operation Epic Fury, and the president has indicated there are a variety of targets on the table if this war does resume.
Go get him, Trey. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube. And
oh, guys, let's make sure we beat the shadow ban by double tapping that screen and liking the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation by double tapping that screen. And also, if you can go ahead and move over to either Rumble or Kick, I'm gonna go ahead and put it in the chat here. But yes, if you can help me beat the censorship by building up the audience on Kick or Rumble, where they don't censor and you'll always get my notifications, that'd be a great help. But let's keep it going. All right, here, let's make, like I said, double tap that screen.
This morning, President Trump with a new threat to Iran, warning time is running out to reach a peace deal. Trump saying, quote, they better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. The president posting what appear to be AI-generated images of him pressing a red button with explosions and a mushroom cloud on the screens around.
Which is wild. Pretty much like a space station. Like, yo, pretty much telling Iran, like, yo, we can hit you guys from the sky. We can hit you with satellite beams because apparently that we got those.
him. Oil price
Guess Marjorie Taylor Greene wasn't too far off from the Jewish space lasers. Like, okay.
prices rising overnight after a drone strike on a nuclear plant in the United Arab Emirates. Gas prices here at home now averaging around $4.50 a gallon. Republicans acknowledging little can be done to lower prices beyond reopening the Strait of Hormuz.
As soon as we get that straightened out, we will get back to the kitchen table issues, the economic issues that we put in place to make the economy grow.
The war and its
But here's the problem: because you guys started off this war, now helping out with affordability is going to take a whole lot longer. Now it's going to take forever for gas prices to fall, and I mean that's going to include all the inflation as well. Because the sad thing about it is that inflation and gas prices go up fast, but they fall down slow. So this whole helping out with affordability, you guys have pretty much you've pushed the date down. Now you've extended the timeline for how long the American people will be dealing with this because of this war.
economic toll have damaged the president's approval ratings, but his sway within the Republican Party remains strong.
When you participate in democracy, sometimes it doesn't turn out the way you want it to.
Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy, who frequently clashed with Trump, lost his primary over the weekend, coming in third place. Cassidy voted to remove Trump from office after the January 6th riot at the Capitol. Trump this weekend saying of Cassidy, his disloyalty to the man who got him elected is now part of legend, and it's nice to see his political career is over.
Our country is not about one individual.
Like I said, it does show the power of the Trump endorsement, but I always do say, hopefully Trump don't get too cocky because that endorsement can easily turn to a scarlet letter. Like APAC funding.
About the welfare of all Americans, and it is about our Constitution.
Tomorrow, there's another closely watched primary involving a Trump foe, Republican Congressman Thomas Massie of Kentucky. His race is now the most expensive House primary race in U.S. history.
It's because 3 billionaires from outside of Kentucky have funneled millions of dollars in here. They're trying to buy a seat.
Stronger than the accuser of the brother.
Meanwhile, thousands gathered on the National Mall for a prayer rally yesterday that included speakers from the Trump administration. Critics saying the event blurred the lines between church and state and lacked non-Christian representation. President Trump, who read a Bible verse in a pre-recorded video, has accused the federal government of anti-Christian bias. At the rally, Vice President Vance celebrated.
I mean, come on now. That's the pot calling the kettle black. I mean, look how you guys are with the Muslims. Don't sit there and judge now because the focus is on y'all. Like, let's be fair here. If you're going to judge Muslims, then people are going to judge Christians. I told you, you guys will be next.
The trend of more young people attending church, saying that should give all of us hope.
Oh, wow. But all right, guys, let's go ahead and get into the next video. And make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in the conversation by double tapping that screen or smashing that like button. And like I said, if you could follow me on Rumble or Kick, that'd be great. Let's go.
Yeah, I think we're at an inflection point right now. And look, the United States military has done significant damage to Iran's drone capabilities, their ballistic missile sites, as well as their nuclear program. What we haven't done so far is change the regime's behavior. We have not induced them to begin negotiating in good faith over a long-term solution to what concerned us about the JCPOA, and that is their nuclear program, the stored highly enriched uranium that we need to gain access to and remove from Iran, their ballistic missiles.
That we need to put boots on the ground for. So if we can't do it through diplomatic means, which Iran's pretty much saying that, well, if you want to do that, we're going to have to wait for 5 to 10 years of a non-aggression treaty, and then they'll consider giving it to us. But as of now, Iran's pretty much claiming that they're going to keep that 60% enrichment, aka we're going to have to go in there and get it, guys. And that's just the sad reality of it, if we actually care about getting it.
Missile program and their support to proxy terrorists. Ultimately, that's how the Trump administration's military campaign against Iran will be judged. And of course, Iran has disrupted the flow of traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. We also need to gain escalation dominance there. So I'm sure the president is huddling with his advisors and receiving intelligence reports.
That's the key word right there, escalation dominance, which the generals have been telling Trump that we don't have. And the problem is, well, we can't have escalation dominance when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz because we're not willing to cut the internet cables. Like, we're not willing to destroy allies. Well, I'm gonna be real with you, Iranian allies in the region, aka Russia and China. We're not willing to do that. But here's the thing: Iran is willing to cut internet cables, to cut off internet in the entire region. They are willing to destroy energy infrastructure throughout the Gulf region if we escalate things with them. So, AKA, they have escalation dominance. Like, they're willing to do things that, well, we're not.
Reports from Director CIA Ratcliffe about Iran's negotiating strategy, their plans, their intentions, their pain points. And I'm sure that military strikes are on the table. I would not be surprised if we continue to look at decapitation strikes. Perhaps those are the most likely to induce a change in this regime's behavior.
Yeah, you know, Dan, when you hear from Iranian officials right now, they're saying that they want guarantees from the United States, even before entering into negotiations, that the U.S. recognizes Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz. So it sounds like right now they don't just want to survive this.
And I'm sorry, but do you know how emboldened the regime got to be to even make that type of demand? They got to be pretty damn emboldened to sit there and tell us to our face, like, yeah, and guess what? You're also going to let us keep the Strait of Hormuz too. Like, we're going to, yep, that's right. We're going to start charging people. We're going to go collect reparations through that. Don't worry, we'll split it with Oman, but we will be controlling the Strait. And that's something that's completely unacceptable because it wasn't like that before the war. So if that's an outcome of this war, complete disaster. And Trump cannot allow it to end like this, even though that just might be the best thing, sadly.
Or they want to benefit, they want to gain from it. So what do you think the calculation is in Iran, inside Iran right now?
Well, I think right now, and that's a key question to be asking, because we do need to try to see the world through the eyes of these Iranian IRGC leaders, specifically General Vahidi, who is leading, by all accounts, the country right now. In spite of the fact that there's a new Ayatollah. The key for Iran is how they perceive their actions against the United States. They clearly believe that there's a threat, a domestic threat from protesters, and so they're going to suppress that and violate the human rights of their own population. They need to appear strong against the United States. They also want to appear to be the face of resistance, to gain more support from among their proxy terrorist groups like the Houthis, who continue to be engaged against our Gulf allies in the region, and Hezbollah, not to mention Hamas and proxy Shia militant groups in Iraq. So I think that's behind some of Iran's bluster, and they're probing the United States. They want.
Yeah, that is true. That's why they won't give up their proxies, because it is a strategic advantage at the end of the day. And I mean, if you don't know where Iran proxies are, let's get back over here to this map. And if you wonder what the lines are, these are the internet cables, especially under here. These internet cables under here that Iran could cut, at any moment. This is what we don't want. But as you see, yes, Iran has I would say proxy forces in Iraq. They have proxy forces in Lebanon, proxy forces in basically Israel, aka Gaza, and then they have proxy forces in Yemen. And Yemen, these guys are, well, what are they? They're the Houthis in Yemen. There's Hezbollah in Lebanon, and then there's Hamas in Gaza. And then I think they're like the PRC or something like that in Iraq. I'm not really sure too much of the name of the Iraqi ones, but they're there. They are there. All right, let's get back to it. And don't forget to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Do appreciate the support, by the way. So let's get back to it. Oh, whoops.
To reduce or eliminate altogether U.S. influence in the Middle East.
Yeah, and on Friday, the president announced a major action in Nigeria. He announced that U.S. and Nigerian forces killed the second in command of ISIS globally, saying on X, though he thought he could hide in Africa, but little did he know we had sources who kept us informed on what he was doing. What does that do for our ongoing war on terror? And also, what message could that possibly send in a situation like Iran?
Well, I think very notable counterterrorism operation where we partnered with our Nigerian government forces, armed forces, and so they're a force multiplier for our worldwide counterterrorism efforts. This guy we targeted, Abu Bilal al-Munaki, he was a very senior, reportedly the number 2 leader of ISIS. And so we are going to be disrupting plots, not just in Western Africa, but globally by striking him. It demonstrates that we have the intelligence capability to find and fix the location of terrorist leaders and take the fight to the enemy. We're not deploying hundreds of thousands of troops to Africa. We're just eliminating a terrorist threat, and that's a great success.
Yeah, the president says the clock is ticking, and we will all be watching, as we always do. Fox News contributor Dan Hoffman. Dan, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully they can reach some type of diplomatic means. I did hear that they sent a revised proposal through Pakistan, so we'll see what revisions were made. Well, maybe I can actually look it up right now and see if they've actually posted it. But in the meantime, let's get over into News Nation, guys. I know we got a long news segment ahead of us, so make sure you double tap that screen and like the video, guys, because we're still going through a shadow ban. So I appreciate those who are sticking in with me, but make sure you guys double tap that screen and smash that like button, and make sure to also follow me on Kick or Rumble, guys. You know, we got to fight the censorship here.
This is new this morning. Iran announcing plans to once again allow commercial shipping in and out of the Hormuz Strait. This comes as tensions between the U.S. and Iran are continuing with no broader agreement yet in place. With us now, News Nation international correspondent Robert Sherman in Doha. Good morning from New York.
I mean, you know, when Iran's out here asking for reparations and complete control of the Strait of Hormuz, I'll be real with you. I can't even blame Trump for sending them the denial. I'm pretty sure that was probably at the top of the list because Trump said he read the first letter and he was like, man, get that shit out of here. I'm pretty sure at the top of that list was, yeah, Iran will control the Strait of Hormuz. He was like, oh, yeah, nope, it's dead. Nope, get that out of here. And I can respect that.
New York, my friend. Tell us more about the latest posting. And of course, what's the latest out of Iran?
Yeah, hey there, Hannah. Well, the national security chief for Iran's parliament framing this as a means of being able to get ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Though it gets a little bit more complicated than just that. They say that there's going to be a route that will be unveiled in order for ships to transit through. But listen to the words of this Iranian official who said that in this process, only commercial vessels and parties cooperating with Iran will benefit from it. The necessary fees will be collected for the specialized services provided under this mechanism. This route will remain closed to the operators of the so-called...
Nah. That is wild. Okay, so let's just go through this. So in this process, only commercial vessels and parties cooperating with Iran will benefit from it. So pretty much they're saying they're going to shut it down to everybody but those who support Iran. And pretty much is getting down with the new law of the water, law of the sea, I guess. All right, let's get right back into it. The necessary fees will be collected for the specialized service provided under this mechanism. This route will remain closed to the operators of the so-called oh wow, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. That was just funny though. But this route will remain closed to the operators of the so-called Project Freedom. Or Freedom Project. Yeah, aka you guys who are shutting down the strait. Yeah, those who align with the US, you guys will not be allowed through this pretty much controlled route through the Strait of Hormuz. And everybody who isn't aligned and who's pretty much paying their fees will be allowed through. Aka the Strait of Hormuz isn't closed, really, is just restricted.
Freedom Project. So making clear this is not going to be open to American ships or allies of the United States. But you also have that line in there, the necessary fees. Certainly sounds an awful lot like tolling, which is a move that has been condemned not just by the Western world of the international community, but also by some of Iran's allies, such as China, who said they do not support the imposition of fees or tolls on ships going through the Strait of Hormuz, saying that would be a violation of freedom of navigation. This is illustrative of the gridlock that we are currently in right now between both of these sides during this negotiating process, with the president saying he's been none too thrilled with the most recent proposals that have come from the Iranian side, and Iran not backing down from its positions. The nuclear issue and their ability to generate nuclear products remains centerfold in this whole discussion here, Henna. And at this point, neither side giving the indication they're prepared to make any compromises on that front. While Pakistan remains hopeful that they can get both sides back to the negotiating table, and there's talks of progress that has taken place since the last meetings in Islamabad, still very clearly some gaps that have yet to be bridged.
Robert, as all of this is happening, we're also learning more about the capture and extradition to the U.S. of Mohammed Bakr Saad al-Sadi. Talk a little about how the story is sparking new fears of Iran using proxy groups beyond the Mideast. You actually warned about this months ago when this conflict even started.
And El-Sadi was picked up in Turkey by Turkish officials who were there and then extradited back to the United States. That's one element of all of this, transiting outside of the Middle Eastern proper region. But then also his involvement with groups, alleged involvement with groups such as Kataib Hezbollah, which is an Iranian proxy that operates out of Iraq. When you listen to the formal complaint that was issued by the Department of Justice, what they say is that they allege that El-Sadi discussed attacking locations in New York, California, and Arizona and presented a serious threat to our national security. They also said that he was involved in the attempt and coordination of 20 attacks throughout Europe and the United States. This is the big element here, Henna, is exactly how far the reach Iran's proxies have, with most of these groups reporting back to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard in particular. Hezbollah itself operates out of Lebanon. You have Kataib Hezbollah in Iraq. You have the Houthis in Yemen. But the bigger fear is that exactly what kind of satellite operations do these groups have in Europe, the United States, and elsewhere, something that keeps many security groups around the globe on guard. Henna?
No doubt about that. Robert Sherman, live in Doha. Robert, thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty much the blowback that we're talking about. Pretty much this Iran war is going to have blowback with these proxy groups in the region, and possibly with some influence in America, aka, I guess the Iranian sleeper cells. But all right, let's go ahead and get into foreign media here, or international media with Al Jazeera, guys. Let's go ahead and get right into it. And make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Like I said, double tap that screen and like the video. Let's get more people in on the conversation. Appreciate the support. And any question, comments, jokes, or disagreements, feel free to super chat it in.
We'll get moving. That's US President Donald Trump's latest message to Iran as talks to end the conflict remain deadlocked. Trump posted on social media saying, for Iran, the clock is ticking and they better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. Time is of the essence. Iran's foreign ministry spokesperson says mediation efforts through Pakistan are ongoing.
We received from the Pakistani mediator some reservations and some amendments, which means that after sending our viewpoint to America through Pakistan, we have received some amendments from the United States. We discussed these matters and these things and these amendments, and we have informed them yesterday with our position. We have sent them our viewpoint. This path is ongoing through the Pakistani mediator.
Tahir Asadi joins us from Iran's Bandar.
So, yeah, we're pretty much waiting to see what the revised positions are from the Pakistani mediator, because I'm pretty sure Pakistan went to Iran and said, all right, bro, you guys are tripping. There's no way America's going to agree to this. You might have to concede on something. And Iran, I don't know, would be willing to concede on, reparations, but they're most likely going to want to control the Strait of Hormuz. They're not going to give up on that. They're not giving up their enrichment nor their proxies. So, yeah, the only real concession I can see them giving up, probably would be what was it I was talking about? What was the last thing? Hold on here.
Bas, a port city that overlooks the Strait of Hormuz.
Right.
So, what else did we hear from the foreign ministry spokesperson?
Well, actually, we heard from him touching upon a wide spectrum of different topics, but the gist of the matter is based on
they'll probably give up reparations, because they can still get the reparations through their fees to the Strait of Hormuz. So they can probably give that up. If anything, they can give that up. But what they won't give up is, the no frozen assets. They won't give up they won't give up the release of their frozen assets. They won't give up on the sanctions. But war damages paid, though, they can give up on that. And of course, they're not going to give up on us recognizing them as the administrator of the Strait of Hormuz. Like, Lord knows they're not giving up that. So that's why we might actually have to go back to kinetic strikes to see if we can get Iran to give up on that.
Two-sided message, while the country is saying that the doors for diplomacy remains ajar and the diplomatic engagement mediated by Islamabad is going on. On the other hand, we know that they're talking about a rhetoric based on fingers on the trigger and readiness for another round of confrontation as tensions, as tensions run high, not only when it comes to the situation here at the Strait of Hormuz, but also in a broader context. We know that there are so many sticking points out there when it comes to Iran's demands related to the war reparation, and most importantly, the security assurances that Tehran is looking for to make sure that it's not going to get into the trap of another round of unexpected confrontation, as it happened 2 times over the past less than a year, I may say. But speaking of what we heard from the spokesperson, he talked about the regional hostility, and on that he said, quote unquote, we have no hostility with regional countries. We are permanent neighbors, he said, and also he warned against a potentiality of external factors at work, and he also called the regional countries to take lessons, in particular UAE, from the course of events that took place over the past 2-3 months.
Toad, you're obviously there overlooking the Strait of Hormuz. Has there been any new developments in the recent hours in regards to that?
Well, the situation here is very much similar to the diplomatic standoff between Tehran and Washington. And what we hear from security sources is based on 3 messages. They're saying that the strait is closed to our adversaries, but open to neighboring and friendly countries. Also, they're saying that no military ships and vessels are allowed to transit through the trajectory of this geostrategically significant choke point. And last but not least, they are putting emphasis that any transiting, any passage should be coordinated with the IRGC. And I'm going to step aside to show you.
And like I said, part of their demands was for the U.S. to recognize that Iran's going to start controlling the strait. And what they're pretty much saying to other countries is that, look, if you guys recognize this now, you can go ahead and go get through the strait and just say F what the United States talking about. But those of you guys who are, participating in this whole project or operation Project Freedom, yeah, you guys will pretty much remain on the outside. But apparently Iran has already cleared a route, ready for anybody who's willing to pay the fees and bend the knee.
Situation here as
and if America recognizes this, then we're also going to be paying the fees and bending the knee.
Can kindly show us on the horizon. You can see in the Bandar Abbas southern coast number of ships and vessels here, most of them belonging to the Iranian side. But moving deeper, we can actually see many more other international ships and vessels in that regard under this situation. We heard from the spokesperson for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs talking about the importance of this strait and talking about very much important a mechanism that Iran tries to implement. He said that we are in continuous contact with Oman and other relevant parties negotiating the establishment of a mechanism to achieve this goal. Also, he touched upon the reasons about the courses of action that Iran is taking at the Strait of Hormuz. He said that what Tehran is doing has got a legal background and legal justification in that regard, seeing the quote-unquote aggressions by different countries on Iran. Meanwhile, he criticized the coordination of some of the regional countries when it comes to conducting it.
All right, but check this out, guys, because apparently we're trying to get UAE involved in this conflict with us, even though they're going to end up getting themselves effed up because Iran can easily just start taking out their enemy infrastructure. But the UAE, they're going to play a strong face. They're going to sit there and pretend like they're going to get involved, but they're not. Why? Because they know that Iran will completely decimate them and all their infrastructure, their water desalination centers, and that place would pretty much be unlivable. So the UAE is going to put up a strong front, but I would be so surprised, and I would literally call them idiotic for stepping into this war any further. But all right, though, let's go ahead and get into this analysis right here. And let's not forget to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in on the conversation by double tapping that screen.
Moving on, a major new twist is now emerging in the widening conflict between Iran, the United States, and Israel. Reports now suggest that Washington is quietly encouraging the United Arab Emirates to take a far more direct role in the war. According to a report by The Telegraph, members of President Donald Trump's inner circle have encouraged the UAE to seize Iranian territory in the Gulf, including Lavin Island, a strategic energy hub off Iran's southern coast. The island is critical to Iran's offshore oil network, serving as a major processing and export base for multiple Iranian oil fields. It also hosts storage facilities, a loading terminal, and operations linked to Iran's state oil company, making it one of Tehran's most important energy assets in the entire region. In recent weeks, Iran has repeatedly accused the UAE of participating in US-Israeli military operations against Iran. Those accusations have grown louder after reports emerged that the UAE carried out secret strikes inside Iran earlier this year.
I must say that the UAE was directly involved in the act of aggression against my country. When this aggression began, they even refused to condemn it. It also became clear that they participated in these attacks and may have even acted directly against us.
True. But Abu Dhabi has also become increasingly open.
I mean, let's be real. The only reason why Iran attacked the Gulf states, even though they were perceived as allies before the war, is because that they keep these U.S. bases in their countries, and the U.S. was attacking them from these bases. So what did Iran do? Well, they decimated those bases and made them uninhabitable.
About its readiness to respond militarily to what it calls Iranian aggression. After a drone attack near the UAE's Barakah nuclear power plant, the Emirati Foreign Ministry called the incident a dangerous escalation and said the country would not tolerate threats to its security or sovereignty. As part of Iran's retaliatory attacks in response to the US-Israeli strikes, the UAE has faced thousands of missiles and drones, more than any other US ally in the Gulf. Those attacks have disrupted air traffic, hit tourism, shaken investor confidence, and forced Abu Dhabi to reassess its security strategy. Analysts now say the
Sorry, guys, but what I was pretty much saying was that the reason why the UAE was so focused, or Iran was so focused on Israel, sorry, but Iran was so focused on the UAE is because they do see the UAE as like a proxy of Israel. They know that IDF soldiers go to the UAE, they vacation there, they provide, well, bodyguard services there and all that good stuff and security. And let's be real, they don't like that. And is Israel seen as Iran's main enemy? So one of the main reasons why they focus on the UAE and striking these guys is because of their close ties to Israel.
Confidence and forced Abu Dhabi to reassess its security strategy. Analysts now say
shout out to my man Kingen, bro. He sent in a press F for 10 joules, and then he sent an Uncle Alert for 400 joules. Appreciate that. 440 joules. Appreciate the support, my man. Let's get right back into it.
War is pushing the UAE closer than ever to Washington and Tel Aviv. That alignment has become harder to ignore. Israel has reportedly supplied the UAE with the Iron Dome air defense batteries during this ongoing conflict. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has claimed he made a secret visit to the UAE in March, a visit Abu Dhabi has officially denied.
What I tell you?
At the same time, reports have also emerged.
What did I tell you? Bro, Wall Street Journal exclusive. Mossad chief visited UAE during Iran bombing campaign to help coordinate war. Like, bro. That's why y'all got attacked. Like, bro, it ain't because Iran's just this radical regime. It's because you guys literally work with the enemy, UAE. And also, it's bullshit what you guys are also doing in Sudan by funding those, what was it? That rebellion force that's terrorizing people. I mean, that's bullshit, but we don't call them out on it. We don't. Why? Because they're an ally. So apparently our ally can support terrorist proxies, but oh, God forbid Iran does it. God forbid.
A visit by the Mossad chief to the UAE during the active phase of this war, further fueling speculation about deepening intelligence cooperation between the two countries. The UAE's relationship with Israel has expanded rapidly since the Abraham Accords were signed in 2020, but the current war appears to be pushing that partnership into open military and strategic territory.
Can I say a word of appreciation, deep appreciation and admiration for the United Arab Emirates? I think that the UAE is an example. They were the first Abraham Accord member. But look at the benefits that they have had as a result. Israel just sent them Iron Dome batteries and personnel to help operate them. How come? Because there's an extraordinary relationship between the UAE and Israel based on the Abraham Accords.
While the war has also exposed
I'll be real with you. The Abraham Accords is pretty much like the list of sellouts that signed up to, work with Israel to sell out the Palestinians. So they pretty much said, look, we'll work well with Israel, even though they're not going to give the Palestinians anything. And a lot of the reason why people held off on the Abraham Accords in the first place was because the Palestinian answer wasn't, the Palestinian question wasn't being answered. And apparently a lot of them just said, F these Palestinians. We're trying to work with Israel to get closer to America for our own prosperity. And, a lot of the other Muslim countries see them as sellouts. And in a way, they kind of are.
Tensions between the UAE and some of its neighbours. Reports suggest Abu Dhabi was frustrated by what it saw as a weak response to the Iran war from regional groups like the Arab League and the Gulf Cooperation Council. Earlier this month, the UAE also decided to leave oil-producing countries bloc OPEC, a move seen by many analysts as a further sign of strain with Saudi Arabia. For Iran, the possibility of a more military active UAE could open up a new front in the conflict. And for the UAE, any deeper military involvement risks making it an even bigger target for Iranian retaliation.
And all right, guys, let's go ahead and get to this next video here, because this was pretty damn interesting, guys. This was really interesting. I remember I was reporting on this like a couple days ago, but check this out. Secret bases, guys. Israel got secret bases. That is low-key pretty damn cool. I'll admit, it's badass.
Hello and welcome to First Post Live, where we bring you the day's top stories from across the world. I'm Joshua Barnes, live from the First Post studios. Let's begin with the headlines.
Oh, guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in a conversation by smashing that like button if you're watching horizontal, or double tapping that screen. And like I said, guys, if you can, make sure to go ahead and follow me also on Kick and Rumble as well, as I posted in the chat. That helps us beat the censorship as well. So, you always get my notifications when I'm going live.
Asian markets have retreated while crude oil reaches a 2-week high as the deadlock in US-Iran talks continues. Trump has urged Iran to make a deal, with the Strait of Hormuz remaining under an effective blockade. The cruise ship hit by an outbreak of the deadly hantavirus has docked in the Dutch port of Rotterdam. Authorities have prepared quarantine arrangements for the MV Hondius, with around 50 people set to disembark. Ukraine claims that a Russian drone hit a Chinese cargo ship in attacks overnight in the Black Sea. Both Moscow and Kyiv exchanged deadly strikes over the weekend, with an Indian national among 4 killed in Russia.
Russia definitely wants dominance over the Black Sea. Why? Because they don't want Ukraine to access those oil reserves. And then another reason is because, why not? It'd just be a great place for them to have control of that oil them damn selves and maintain being the largest producer of oil in the world.
Secretly built not 1, but 2 covert military bases deep inside Iraq.
Damn, okay. I heard there was 1, but you told me Israel was able to build 2 of them? Like I said, bro, I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
Built not 1, but 2 covert military bases deep inside Iraq. The alleged outposts were hidden deep in Iraq's western desert and are said to have supported Israeli operations against Iran. The bombshell claim comes just days after reports first emerged about a secret Israeli base discovered in Iraq. That outpost was allegedly used during the ongoing West Asia war that erupted in February involving Israel, Iran, and the United States. But the newly claimed second base appears even more significant. Reports suggest it predates the current conflict and was already active during Operation Rising Lion, the intense 12-day war between Israel and Iran in June 2025. According to the report, Israel had quietly started preparing the base as early as 2024, and the US is said to have known about at least one of these covert facilities. The purpose of the bases was strategic. The outpost reportedly helped Israeli fighter jets cut down flight times while striking targets inside Iran. They also acted as logistical hubs for the Israeli Air Force. Special forces teams, rescue crews, and emergency units were reportedly stationed in case Israeli pilots were shot down behind enemy lines.
Yo, and you kind of remember how, one of our, what was it? Because let's go back to the map he was showing here. You remember that operation that we were doing when we had to rescue that guy that, got shot down behind enemy lines? Yeah, part of that operation was lifting him and getting into Iraq. And I did realize that, isn't that kind of strange how we have this safety point in Iraq? And everybody just treated like it was normal. And now we realize that, no, these are Israeli secret bases that we were using to help rescue this guy and have a good point here and have pretty much a safe point here in Iraq. And they don't even know it. Like, Iraq didn't even know this was going on. Like I said, truly impressive, truly impressive.
Israeli fighter jets cut down flight times while striking targets inside Iran. They also acted as logistical hubs for the Israeli Air Force. Special forces teams, rescue crews, and emergency units were reportedly stationed in case Israeli pilots were shot down behind enemy lines. The bases allowed Israel to operate nearly 1,000 miles away from its territory, while keeping backup teams ready in case missions went wrong. But Iraq has strongly denied these claims. A senior Iraqi security official dismissed reports of Israeli military activity in the Western Desert as false. On Sunday, Iraqi forces even escorted journalists to the alleged outpost location. The tour was organized in the remote Nuqayb Desert located in the southwest of Iraq.
The Special Forces implemented a qualitative operation by carrying out an airdrop in the heart of the desert in coordination with the ground units of the Holy Karbala Operations Command. And it was a...
No, it was crazy. Actually, when they found out about it, they did send forces over there, and low-key, the Israeli forces low-key shot back at him. Ended up killing somebody on the Iraqi side.
Successful operation. The area was searched and inspected, and there were no traces found of any presence of terrorists or others in this area.
But as Iraq denies the existence of Israeli bases in its territory, officials acknowledged a mysterious armed presence in the desert. According to Iraqi officials, an unidentified foreign force was discovered in the desert in early March. When Iraqi troops moved to investigate, the patrol quickly came under attack. The foreign force later withdrew. Officials confirmed there had been a small, short-term, unauthorized force operating in the area, but they stopped short of identifying it as Israel. According to the reports, the first outpost was accidentally uncovered on March the 3rd by a shepherd roaming Iraq's western desert. A day later, the shepherd reportedly alerted Iraqi authorities after spotting unusual activity.
And here's the thing, they kind of got to deny it because honestly, it's a complete embarrassment as a country that another country is able to build a secret military base on your land without you knowing. I'm sorry, but like if that happened to America, we would be denying it. Honestly, any country in their right mind would be denying that a country was able to build a secret base inside of their country. Why? Because it just opens it up for other people to try to do the same to you. So I mean, I get why the Iraqi general just came out there and said, no, this didn't happen. Don't believe it. Fake news. Why? Because it's a complete embarrassment to the entire country.
The moment of soldiers, helicopters flying in and out, and tents clustered around a hidden landing strip. What he allegedly discovered was a closely guarded military secret. And according to the reports, the tip-off may have cost him his life. After receiving the warning, the Iraqi military reportedly sent reconnaissance forces to the area, but the patrol is said to have walked into an ambush. Reports claim Israeli forces launched airstrikes to stop Iraqi troops from reaching the base and exposing the operation. One Iraqi soldier was killed, 2 others were wounded, and 2 military vehicles were destroyed before Iraqi units then pulled back.
See, like I said, 1 guy was killed, 2 others were wounded. I didn't know about the 2 wounded, but I did know that there was a fight that did break out when they were trying to, breach the secret base.
Following the clash, Iraq filed a complaint at the United Nations. Initially, Baghdad blamed the United States for the attack, but Washington denied any involvement, and Israel has still not publicly confirmed the existence of the alleged bases.
Respect.
The reports have placed Iraq at the center of a dangerous regional shadow war, marked by secrecy, covert operations, and cross-border missions. One question does remain, though. If these bases stayed hidden for so long, how many more could still be in the shadows?
Exactly. And that's why they got to sit there and deny it, because not only does it an embarrassment to the country, but it also begs that question of, how much other bases could be in here that we just don't know about? I mean, it's a scary question that the Iraqi people got to ask themselves, or at least the Iraqi government. But all right, guys, let's get back into it. Iran expects war to resume in 48 hours. Let's get into it with Breaking Point.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Have an amazing.
Make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But like I said, let's beat this shadow ban by showing engagement by double tapping that screen and, making sure to chat it up in the chat if y'all can. All right, let's keep it going.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Crystal?
Indeed, we do. Trump making new threats against Iran. Also, we've got a look at the economic fallout. Time to start hoarding motor oil, apparently, because there's a dire situation developing there. Shortages imminent. Thomas Massey facing the fight of his life, an onslaught. It's now.
Yeah, run out and get your oil change. That's what I got to go do real quick myself. But yeah, guys, make sure to go run out and get your oil change, because it looks like there's going to be a shortage on motor oil, and AKA that means it's going to be a little bit more expensive to get your oil change as well. So go ahead and prepare to eat that.
The most expensive congressional race in history as the Israel lobby pours cash into that race to try to defeat him. We will preview that. We're also taking a look at new bogus intel that's being laundered on Cuba to try to create a pretext for an invasion. Trump made thousands of trades as president, like more than 3,000 stock trades, including for companies like, Palantir, NVIDIA, some top names that you have certainly heard about and that he has certainly been influential in pushing. And we've got a few other corruption stories here as well, including Kash Patel with a VIP snorkeling trip at Pearl Harbor, of all places. So just incredible things happening there.
Yeah, you or I, they actually banned swimsuits at Pearl Harbor, which I massively support. Don't get me wrong, but apparently not for Kash Patel. Now, what I love are all the other government officials who are like, guys, I snorkeled at Pearl Harbor years ago. I'm like, oh, okay. So apparently this has been a secret thing that's been going on for quite some time. Mr. Cash got literally escorted by Navy SEAL. I'm not sure why these types of things make me so hot, but I think every American should be disgusted by this, irreverence, the display of what they decide to do, not only with our tax dollars, but in which they treat everyone. So there you go. Thank you to everybody.
Everybody was tripping over the White House, pretty much doing what was it? Lobster and steak dinners and all this good stuff, but they can't feed the homeless. Like, they spend millions of dollars on a lobster and steak dinner, but it was like, all right, but you can't add the SNAP benefits. Yeah, people do get pretty pissed on, how well, I would say, the government make sure they stay lavish or make sure their lifestyle is lavish, and they let people just suffer. It's kind of wild. And they spend millions of dollars doing so, while complaining about Somali fraud. Ain't that wild? But I mean, it's fair.
Buddy, if you are watching this on YouTube, please hit subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're listening to this as a podcast, please share an episode with a friend. It really helps other people find the show. But as Crystal said, we're going to go ahead and start with the war with Iran. Let's put A1 up there on the screen. So Donald Trump's latest Truth Social post for Iran. The clock is ticking. They better get moving fast or there won't be anything left of them. Time is of the essence. This is paired actually with some new analysis from Trita Parsi. Let's go ahead and put this up here on the screen, which he released late last night. He said, the Middle East is once again teetering on the brink as Trump appears to reignite war with Iran. While Trump's threats of war may be theater designed to face Tehran into submission, Tehran expects the U.S. to attack it within the next 48 hours. We should recognize that restarting the war amounts to an admission that the previous escalatory gambit has failed. That in turn was in itself admission that the war had failed, which was an admission that the threats of war in January had already failed. As I argued before, this relentless search for an escalatory silver bullet capable of bringing Iran to its knees is not unique to Trump. It has become a defining pathology of American Iran policy for decades. I just think it's incredibly well said. Succinct, summarizes everything, but the top line.
I mean, even though the more aggressive we get with Iran, the more they don't give us what we want, and the more that we push them closer to, you know, having a nuke, which nobody wants them to have. But let's be real. If you look at pattern recognition, and if you're smart about it, you'd understand that the more aggressive we are towards Iran, the closer we push them towards a nuke. Let's just be honest. And when Barack Obama took the diplomatic route of the JCPOA, we was able to get thousands of pounds of enriched uranium out, and also make sure they kept their enrichment at that 3.67%. Now, we don't have no handle on it.
News there from Trita Parsi is that his sources in Tehran believe that the war will restart within the next 48 hours. It does seem to fit with all of this clock is ticking, some of these exchanges of negotiations, all of which have failed, and we'll get into some of the details. But it does seem basically inevitable at this point. The ceasefire has now been longer than the actual war itself. Nothing has been accomplished. The amount of oil remains at a trickle. Iran still retains control of the Strait of Hormuz. The global oil markets remain disastrous. And, you know, we here in the United States today, I actually think this weekend will be the weekend where a lot of Americans wake up. It's Memorial Day weekend. It's probably the first time they're going to be on the road for several hours. People are really
craziest part, like, from the last time I was on, Brent crude went up by like $1. Like when I was on earlier, I think it was at like 104 or 105. And right now it went up by about $2. Not Brent crude, but my bad, WTI. And then Brent crude has stayed right here at that $110, which is absolutely terrible, by the way. Just want to let y'all know that is not good.
Really going to be interacting with those gas prices, probably more so than normal. And then the sticker shock of just, you know, $4.50 a gallon nationally, or if you live in California, well over $6. I think that's going to hit home. And also, as people, I've been seeing already tweets, you know, a lot of viral ones, people who are booking flights for summer travel who are like, oh my God, right?
Yeah.
They're like, not doing that again anytime soon. So you couple those two things together, I actually think this weekend could be a turning point.
I think you could be right about that. And for many millions of Americans, it's really already hit home where, you know, they were already struggling. And now just to fill up a tank of gas, be able to get to work is becoming an impossibility. We're already seeing the way that people at the lower end of the income scale have had to cut back. Of course, the wealthy will be unaffected because to them, the increase in gas prices is really like, you know, it's barely a blip on the radar. And Trump, those are the people that Trump is talking to. And those are the people that Trump is thinking about. More on that in the economic section. But I fear that you're correct about this because the current situation with the Strait of Hormuz closed really is an unsustainable situation for the U.S. and truly for the globe. That economic noose is only going to continue to tighten. And then you've got the Israelis and the neocons here in the U.S. who are certainly pushing for a return to hostilities. Lindsey Graham made the rounds on the Sunday shows yesterday. This is A3. Let's take a listen to his push for renewed airstrikes.
The status quo is hurting us all. The longer the strait is closed, the more we try to pursue a deal that never happens, the stronger Iran gets. So no,
that is a good point. But the problem is, though, like resuming airstrikes can only do so much. And the thing is, if you want to get their nuclear enrichment, we're not going to airstrike them to that. If you want to take out their missiles and drones, we can't airstrike them to that either because a lot of it's underground. And we know this. So what's the real plan here besides resuming airstrikes that are just going to waste munitions? I mean, like I said, the best bet would be boots on the ground, but that'd be catastrophic.
My analysis is there's nothing to suggest that the people in charge now are any different in terms of the regime's goal to terrorize the world, destroy Israel, come after us. So what do you do next? You weaken them further.
Yeah.
Now, what President Trump has done has been amazing militarily, but there's still more targets to be had, and there's things we can do to hurt the energy infrastructure is their soft underbelly. If you go back to the fight, I'd put energy on top of the list.
I want to couple that with A7, if we can put this up on the screen, which is that Trump and Bibi had a...
But here's the problem. We play with their energy infrastructure. They destroy the Gulf region's energy infrastructure. And that's what I said. Iran will only wait so long during this blockade until they just start attacking our allies in the region to get us to remove the blockade. And at that point, it's just going to be a game of chicken. Are we just going to sit there and keep with the blockade while Iran destroys the energy infrastructure of the UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia?
Yesterday, and there was also a security meeting inside of Israel. And if you think about the timing on all of this, Sagar, of course, Trump just back from this trip to China, it would make sense that he wanted to sort of pause a return to hostilities until he got through that particular trip. If there were ongoing hot hostilities during his trip to China, that could be a little bit awkward, a little uncomfortable, may undermine some of the very minimal deals that he was able to do there. I mean, he really returned with basically nothing anyway, but you can imagine why this timing would make some sense and why also the reality is setting in. You know, he was fed a bunch of bullshit that he chose to believe from the from FDD and other sources of, oh, if we just blockade their blockade, then within days, this is what they were truly selling. Within days, Iran's whole economy will collapse and their oil wells are going to explode. Remember when Trump said that? It has to be setting in now. Okay, that plan is not going to work out. Not that Iran isn't suffering and that there isn't economic damage, but they are able to withstand that a lot longer, frankly, than we can because their pain tolerance is much, much higher. So the logic is very likely within the administration to be that was offered by Lindsey Graham, or that Emily and I covered last week was offered by Eric Erickson. He said the only way out is through. Yeah. We can't stay in this position, so we have to just go back. One more bombing campaign. Maybe we have to do that ground invasion. Those are the sorts of things that are being contemplated right now.
Look, unfortunately, there's a relative inevitability.
I mean, if the clear goal is to make sure we get that enriched uranium, I mean, if we want a regime change, it's going to be boots on the ground. And if we just resume airstrikes, trust me, I mean, we're going to do that for what, a couple weeks, just like Operation Epic Fury, and then realize, oh, we didn't really get anything done. Because that's exactly what it turned out to be. That Operation Epic Fury was a dud. We said we destroyed 90% of their missiles and drones. They still maintain over 70% or about 70% of their pre-war missiles and drones. We barely put a dent in it. And that's including the fact that they've been building missiles and drones throughout this ceasefire. So they're pretty much back up at it. They're pretty much back at full capacity here. So we didn't solve that. The regime is now even more radical. So that's still a problem. And the Strait of Hormuz is closed. And now they're talking about regulating it. Now they're talking about they're going to be the ones administrating fees. Like, yeah, this is terrible. This is not a good position here.
Do this thing. He either surrenders or he escalates all the way. He doesn't want to do either, and so he's going to continue. This is where Robert Pape's analysis of the escalation trap is so important. And remember, we always say this, is that we always think of history in terms of a linear fashion. Mm-hmm. No, it takes a long... If you go and you read the history of the Second World War, like, it took 2 years before the United States was even involved. Like, there's a lot of stuff that happened. There were multi-month periods where literally nothing happened, but we don't think about that. In retrospect, we were in a short pause. Actually, even in the long sweep of history, 30-something days, it's really nothing. But the inevitability of where things must end up, it really was decided on the very day that the war itself was launched. Can we put A4 up here on the screen? This is from the latest military action that took place. And this is very interesting, by the way. Drone strikes UAE near UAE nuclear power plant as U.S. and Iran signal they are prepared to resume the war.
Yeah.
But here's kind of what's interesting. A drone strike sparked a fire on the edge of the Seoul nuclear power plant in the UAE on Sunday in what the authorities called an unprovoked terrorist attack. No one was blamed, but it highlighted the risk of renewed war. Now, the UAE had previously said that the strikes came from the West. So you're like, oh, okay, well, let's take a look at a map. There's a lot of countries to the west of the UAE. Who could they be? And I mean, the crazy thing is it could be a variety of different countries. It could be Saudi Arabia because they're currently in some sort of a dust up. Could be Israel potentially, wanting to like restart the war or to pressure them. It could also, I guess, theoretically, it could be Iran from some sleeper drone, platform or something, or maybe it flew in a different direction. But it just highlights like the 40th order chaos that has come now as a result of the war. Yeah. The UAE has left OPEC. I was just reading yesterday. The effect on the Qatari economy from the war hasn't been nearly as publicized because we've all been focused on gas or on oil. The natural gas holdup of all of that LNG, some 20% of the world's LNG just held up, and then the dramatic reduction in the Ras Laffan gas field. I mean, that is already cascading across the global economy, but they are having to change multi-year projections for their own investments and their economy. Like, this could be an extinction event if it continues for the Qatari economy. Like, you may literally see just like with the First World War, like you may go into a war which you expect to be 70 days, a nice little war, which is what they originally thought it would be. And you may literally watch the destruction of all of these different houses and monarchies. And what we're basically watching in all of this is the US and even Iran to a certain extent, who are in a level of limbo where they both overestimate their relative strength. We've talked a little bit about this. And this is not to say that Iran is not in a very, very strong position, but they can still be eliminated if the full force of the military is there. This is part of what tightens the escalation trap. Let's put the next one up there on the screen just to highlight, how strong their demands are and why any American how strong Washington's demands are and why Iran, while it has any fight left in it whatsoever, cannot agree to this. So, for example, here's Washington's. There will be no payment of reparations or compensation by the U.S. There will be a removal and transfer of 400 kilograms of enriched uranium from Iran to...
And they're not doing that. Like, all right, so you know what? The first point, no payment of reparations or compensations by the U.S., I could see Iran getting down with that. But the removal and transfer of 400 kilograms of enriched uranium from Iran to the U.S., they're not doing that. And let's be real, they see that as one of their bargaining chips. And that's why they're talking about, we'll forget about the enriched uranium. We'll wait 5 to 10 years to talk about that. And if you behave and don't attack us again, we'll go ahead and give it up. But if America's not willing to accept that proposal from Iran, in America, we absolutely need that 400 kilograms, then yeah, I guess we're going to have to go back to kinetic strikes. Why? Because we're not willing to accept a 5 to 10 year wait period on this 400 kilograms of enriched uranium. And then let's see, only one Iranian nuclear factory to remain operational. Yeah, I doubt Iran's going for that. No release of even 25%. Damn. All right, I guess that might have been a minimum there. They said you must release at least 25. They said we're not even doing 25%. And let's see, a halt to the war on all fronts, contingent on completion of negotiation first. So pretty much America's saying if you bend the knee or if you concede to all of these demands, then we'll go ahead and concede on the war, or we'll go ahead and stop all war fronts, which Lord knows that Iran's not going to agree to.
The U.S. Only one Iranian nuclear facility will remain operational. There will be no release of even 25% of Iran's frozen assets. A halt to the war on all fronts contingent on completing negotiations first. And then Iran has its own preconditions, which are the war must end on all fronts, a lifting of all sanctions, a release of all assets, a compensation for war demands, and U.S. recognition of Iran's sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz. There is just there's no universe in which this even can come together. Yeah. And that's despite all of the rhetoric. So even though both, Iran is stronger in a strategic position, but it did definitely take some of a pounding, not nearly as much as we were originally told. The U.S. has expended, God only knows, tens of billions, probably. I would say what the real cost of the war is, without even fuel and the amount that we've all paid, probably closer to 60 to 70 billion, even at this point, considering all the carrier strike groups, all the munitions. That doesn't even mention all of the lost, production timeline, etc. But when I see, though, that for them, Trump, because of his image and really of the blow that this has already given to the global empire, everything just seems to be pointing in that direction where they want to restart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the situation with the UAE and, this drone strike, which the drones came over the UAE's border with Saudi Arabia. That's where they came from. Now Saudi's saying, oh, it wasn't.
Guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people in on the conversation by double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, or smash that like button, depending on how you're watching.
But the UAE already thought that the Saudis were behind some strikes on their infrastructure, particularly at Fujairah. The Saudis think the UAE has been behind some strikes on their territory with regard to their critical oil energy infrastructure. And the fact that you have them messing around, you got Israel doing God knows what and trying to foment God knows what, makes the whole thing even more volatile, because you have so many more players with other agendas involved than just the US and Israel and Iran. So that's part of what makes the situation so incredibly dangerous. But I mean, just to put one other piece of information that we've got here, put A8 up on the screen of potentially kinetic action. This is looking fairly solid at this point. According to open source intelligence monitor OSINT Defender, wreckage visible in circulating photos and videos shows an MQ-9 drone, Reaper drone, having been hit and struck by the Houthis in Yemen. They each are worth approximately $30 million, according to DropSite here. And they're saying that, there have been at least 24 of those downed over Iran, about 20 by the Houthis in Yemen. So yet another one of those being taken out, it appears, based on what we can tell from open source intelligence monitoring. But, the logic of this thing seems to only go in one direction, because Sagar is just putting up there the demands from the Iranians and the demands from the U.S. The U.S. demands are just frankly delusional. We lost this war. We lost it strategically, not to say we couldn't go back in and, pound the hell out of the Iranians again if we want to, but in terms of accomplishing our strategic objectives, we totally and completely failed. They emerge with.
I mean, like I said, a lot of people don't like to get down with that reality of it, but yeah, let's be honest. Can we make sure that Iran hands over that 400 kilograms of uranium? Because let's be real, our demands are our goals at the end of the day. So, do we have the 400 kilograms of uranium? No, we do not. Is the regime still in place controlling that 400 grams of uranium? Yes, it is. Have we truly depleted their missiles and drones? No, we have not. And is their navy truly destroyed? No, it isn't, because they're closing the Strait of Hormuz down with it, and along with their missiles and drones. So, yeah, that's a huge problem right there, guys. And they once again have control over the strait, which are now making people pay to get through.
With some cards, to use the Trumpian terminology, that they did not have in the past, that we're not going to be able to take away. And so the fact that you have provisions in there that are more aggressive than what was being contemplated before this war is just delusional. It's insane. They're going to ship their enriched uranium to the U.S. That's one of the supposed provisions that we're pushing here. We're saying absolutely no sanctions relief. We're not going to unfreeze your assets. That's going to be a hard no from the Iranians. So as much as there's been, some kind of dialogue and back and forth and potential negotiations, you can see from the U.S. positions that Trump is not willing to take the ego hit and the humiliation and go out and try to sell this thing that would be required. I thought he made a very revealing comment last week to Sean Hannity when he said, well, maybe I don't care. I'm paraphrasing, obviously. I don't care actually that much about the nuclear dust, but I kind of promised this thing, the fake news media is going to be all over me if I don't get it. So I guess I'm committed to it. There's a lot of truth to that. He has backed himself into a corner now where, even though he is, the bullshit artist in chief, he doesn't even think he could sell what he could get at the negotiating table right now as a win. The current situation.
Let's be real. If we do, all right, let's say we get the strait open and we do give them, sanction relief, then what's the difference between that and Obama? And at least Obama got way more than Trump did for sanction relief. Obama actually got thousands of pounds of nuclear and material out and was able to get them to enrich to 3.6%. So if Trump gives them these, sanction relief and their funds, all he's getting is what? The promise, all you get is a ceasefire and a promise that we won't enrich past 60%. But they're still keeping their uranium. They're still keeping all 400 kilograms of it. Yeah. So like we're not even getting removal of enriched uranium like Obama did. And also they're getting way more money. They'd be getting way more money than they did under Obama. So yes, this would be an epic loss. And I don't know how Trump would honestly, sell this as a win. Maybe MAGA would believe it blindly, as they sadly usually do. But hey, at the end of the day, it's going to be a pretty hard sell.
The economic news tightening, the status quo, that is not sustainable. That was something that, some people had hoped. I think Joe Kent kind of hoped like maybe we can just kind of muddle through and not come to an official deal, but hope that we can ride this thing out. That is not looking like it's sustainable. And you've got all these neocons in his ear and the Israelis pushing like, let's go back in, one more bombing campaign, one more ground invasion. Let's do something so you can establish a win. And I fear that logic is going to be compelling to him.
It's very LBJ-esque. LBJ, I'm not going to be the first president to ever lose a damn war. He would say it over and over again in the Situation Room. And the thing that's always comforting about bombs and escalation is that there's a theoretical payoff, whereas what the actual outcome will be. That's why it takes genuine courage to say, this is madness. We can't keep doing this anymore. Like, that's heroism. What's cowardly is what every president did in Afghanistan. Like, oh, this time we're going to get him. This time we'll do this surge. This time we'll continue to go forward. Saying, first you go from 3,000 advisors to 6,000. That didn't do the jobs. And I need 10,000. I need 100,000. Oh, well, if we escalate the bombing and then this, Operation Rolling Thunder, that will break the back of the Vietnamese. You can see how easy that is to fall for, because these generals, they got their uniforms, you got this vast array of empire at your disposal. That's the easy option to always go down.
Yeah.
The check on that is supposed to be politics.
Well, and Trump loves dropping those bombs. He loves the visuals of it. Yeah. He feels powerful. He feels like a man. He wants Pete Hegseth to put together a highlight reel for him, a 2-minute highlight reel for him to consume, to feel like he's a big, strong, tough, powerful guy. He's sort of addicted to that stuff is the other dangerous thing here. Totally. And I don't think he's the first president to be that way, but I do think he takes it obviously to another level.
He takes it to the nth degree.
Yeah.
There's an element of there's an egomaniacal element of this, which is inherent to like all of them. And I also think as his polls drop, not only did his polls drop, do they even have a bill? Like, if the Republicans were going to win the midterms, what are they going to do? They don't even bother telling you. Like, they literally don't even tell you, here's what we're going to do with the presidency and the House and the Senate. There's no, it's not even about vision. There's no plan whatsoever. It's basically just like, we will continue to be Trump's slaves, like here in the House. You're like, okay, well, it doesn't seem all that different from right now. And that doesn't seem to be going well. But they have the control of the global empire, which is they have total authority. And now, especially with Congress having given up even its checks on war and peace, I mean, this is as close to a king as you will ever see, right? And let's put A7 up there on the screen. Here is Netanyahu.
I mean, when it comes to how unopposed Trump is, and honestly, well, of course, when it comes to the Republican Party, it is a bit frightening. Like, the fact that he just goes so unopposed, like nobody really ever goes against him, and whoever stands up to him, well, they're about to lose their seat. And I think people are seeing that and understanding that, well, is it you get down or lay down when it comes to Trump? So, you know what? I wouldn't even say a king. I said a man's more like a mafia boss. If you don't get down, you're going to be sleeping with the fishes, outside of your political career.
Speaking with Trump amid reports that Israel and the U.S. are preparing Iran strike. Remember this, the Israeli media reports this like every week about preparing for Iran strikes. But, you definitely do need to treat it seriously. The PM will convene a limited security cabinet, the drone strikes on the UAE nuclear station, and Iranian media saying that the U.S. has offered no concrete concessions and demands a shutdown of all but one nuclear facility. So there have been talks back and forth, phone calls with Prime Minister Netanyahu and with Trump. When I talked about that convenience element and how easy they will sell you a vision, that's what Netanyahu is doing right now. He's all up in his ear. He's like, hey, we can do this. All we got to do is restart. All we got to do is take out these nuclear power plants, or all we got to do is take out this energy infrastructure. And that one will, finally drive them to the negotiating table. So I don't know, in terms of what's breaking right now, I saw a little bit of news. Tasmin had reported that maybe
all right, guys, now let's get into this whole war going inside Iran, because apparently, what was it? About 6,500 Israeli agents captured. Iran's most powerful, dreadful action amid heightened tensions with the U.S. So pretty much Iran got a spy problem. They got a Mossad problem. Okay, guys? And because of this spy problem, they're cracking down on people like fiercely. I think even today, what was it? They've executed hundreds of people and also arrested over like, 1,000 of them. 1,000, like 4,000 people have been arrested through connections to Mossad or CIA. Yeah. And that's what I mean by they have a spy problem or a Mossad problem. Let's just keep it real. And that's honestly the reason why those protests popped off the way they did and they got so violent is because of the Mossad problem. But let's get right into it.
Iran says it is now fighting a hidden war from within its own borders. In a chilling announcement, Tehran claimed it has launched a sweeping nationwide crackdown on what it describes as spies, infiltrators, and enemy collaborators, alleging that more than 6,500 individuals have been arrested since the conflict began. Iranian authorities portrayed the arrests as part of a massive internal security operation aimed at dismantling covert networks accused of working with hostile foreign powers and feeding intelligence to Iran's enemies. The dramatic claims underscore growing fears inside Iran of infiltration, sabotage, and internal destabilization as regional tensions continue to escalate. With accusations of espionage, hidden cells, and foreign-backed operations dominating official rhetoric, the conflict is increasing.
Guys, make sure you double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's go ahead and get those likes up by smashing that like button or double tapping that screen. And if you guys can help me out and go ahead and follow me on Kick or Rumble, that'd be much appreciated. Go ahead and hit the link in the chat, and it'll take you right to my Kick or Rumble, depending on which one you like the most. I'd say Kick. Go to that one.
Being framed by Tehran not just as a military confrontation abroad, but as a shadow war unfolding from within. According to Mehr News, Iran's Faraja commander, Ahmed Reza Radan, delivered a stark warning about what Tehran describes as an ongoing internal security battle unfolding alongside the wider conflict. More than 6,500 individuals accused of espionage and collaboration with the enemy have been arrested since the beginning of the war.
Jesus. Yeah, Ron claims big trader crackdown. More than, Jesus Christ, 6,500 individuals accused of espionage and collaboration with the enemy has been arrested since the beginning of the war, adding that identification and arrest operations are continuing. The process of identifying and arresting elements linked to the enemy is ongoing, and the police have not stopped their operations against those who have caused unrest. And this goes into the whole, why that the wrestler was pretty much executed. One, because he pretty much was working with the Mossad and he chopped up an officer in the streets and he was caught on camera doing so. So I know, pretty wild situation. And this is what I mean, guys, that those protests against the regime, remember, these protests originally started because of the collapsing of their currency. It wasn't starting because, they were just turning against the regime. They wanted to overthrow it. Actually, due to individuals being armed by Mossad and the CIA, it turned into that. And of course, once they started looting, burning down civilian property and infrastructure, and of course, burning down the mosque, that's when things got a bit crazy. And these were done not by really the Iranian people. These were done by the agitators, pretty much the paid protesters who were paid by Mossad and CIA and given weapons to go in there and cause dysfunction and chaos.
Said,
claiming shout out to my man, shout out to my man Kingin, man. He sent 2 stars for 4 jewels altogether, man. Appreciate the support.
That Iranian authorities are continuing sweeping operations to identify and detain suspected operatives and networks. He further declared that the crackdown is far from over, insisting that the process of identifying and arresting elements linked to the enemy is ongoing, while warning that police operations against those accused of fueling unrest would continue without pause. The remarks paint a chilling picture of a country on high alert, where Iran's leadership increasingly portrays the conflict not only as a military confrontation beyond its borders, but as a hidden war against infiltration, sabotage, and internal dissent from within. According to the Mehr News report, the Iranian commander declared that police forces had made a firm pledge to the public that theft and lawlessness would not be tolerated under the shadow of war. The statement appeared aimed at projecting strength and control amid growing tensions, with authorities signaling that security forces remain on high alert to prevent unrest, criminal activity, and any breakdown of order during the ongoing conflict. By emphasizing zero tolerance for theft and disorder, Iranian officials are seeking to reassure the public that despite mounting...
AKA, you get caught up, that's the death penalty. I mean, bro, stealing, I mean, let's be real, they do the same thing in Saudi Arabia. You get caught for stealing, that's it. At least for your hands. I heard they chopping hands off over there before they chop your head off. So, hey, I mean, at least you get a warning with your hands instead of your head. But all right, though, let's go ahead and get into this new video that Fox just put out here with our favorite general, General Keane. Oh, Lord.
General Jack Keane is here on a Monday morning, and sir, good day to you. Important stuff on the line. You heard from that Iranian and Trey's reporting there. Here is a 35-year-old mechanic in Iran as well.
You know, before we used to sell one item for 100,000. Now that same item has become 200,000 or 250,000 tomans. But salaries have not increased that much. With this dollar rate, people's pockets have become lighter than before the war. Before the war, people had fuller pockets. Now their pockets are emptier. Customers come, ask the price, and leave.
You wonder about the squeeze, and it is real. I would remind our viewers that Fidel Castro held
Delusional. Oh my God. So this is what y'all doing now. So because you guys have not succeeded on getting the Strait of Hormuz open or getting any type of regime change, you're now going to try to sell that the naval blockade is working instead of saying what a waste of military, assets and what really waste of taxpayer money that it is. Like, let's be real here. So instead of admitting to that, you're just going to try to bullshit the American people. And that's literally what they're doing. So pretty much what they're trying to say is that, oh, no, the blockade is actually working. Don't worry. Their whole economy is going to collapse one day. Don't worry. It will. Here's a problem. Their currency already collapsed in December. Like, there is really nothing else we could do to it. No more sanctions we can put on them to honestly hurt them. Like, that's it. That's why they're selling this fantasy of, oh, don't worry, guys, just give it a little bit longer and their economy is going to collapse any day now. Lord knows that's not the truth. But, I mean, they got to sell it to you to make it look like we're not just wasting taxpayer dollars out there blocking the strait.
For 50 years on an island, so I don't know what comes of this. What I do understand from the president's perspective coming out of China is that he wants the strait reopened for all countries who do business there. But I'm reading this, General. 30 of the 33 missile sites in the strait still remain, and access has been restored to 30 of 33. Is the U.S. military operating from square one now after this quote-unquote ceasefire, General, starting now?
Basically.
Well, let's just start with that interview you just had. Certainly our empathy goes out to the suffering of the Iranian people, but believe me, the regime doesn't care about that interview you just played. I mean, where they're coming from is they believe they can stick with this and run the clock out. And that's what they're trying to do right now, even with modifying their negotiating position. They want to run this clock out, increase the political economic pressure on the president. And they just don't care about the suffering of people. What do they care about? They care about, one, the survival of the regime and themselves. That's what this is all about. And if they get a negotiated deal, they think that they'll get financing to help recover the regime. That is what their objective is here. Where are we? The president has exhibited a huge amount of patience here since the ceasefire on April the 8th. And we've tried to work a deal with these guys, and it just doesn't seem possible. And where we are, we're on the cusp of going back into military operations. When we stopped, Bill and Dana, we had 2 weeks to go, a little less than 30%.
Well, let's be real. We're not trying to work out a deal with the Iranians, or else we try to meet them in the middle. What we want is complete domination over them, and we want them to concede to all of our maximalist demands. That's what he means by, oh, well, we tried to make a deal with them, but it seems like we can't. AKA, it doesn't seem like we could put them under our boot.
The targets, those targets remain, but we have better intelligence now after these 5-6 weeks. So that target list is expanded. It's considerably more comprehensive.
Oh, guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys, or smash that like button, depending on how you're watching. And make sure to follow me on Kick or Rumble, guys. Appreciate the support. But make sure you double tap that screen and like the video.
It'll be a combined operation with the United States and Israel going full throttle, all out, no half measures here whatsoever. And when those target lists are complete, and they will consist of the rest of the weapons that are remaining, to indicate some of what you just mentioned, to include what remains of nuclear, and also all the organizations that sustain the regime. We have better intelligence on locations and other things associated with that. And certainly they're going to be a comprehensive target list in of itself. And then a grouping of targets that really deal with all of Iran's revenue sources to force an economic collapse of the regime. Obviously, Cargill and blockade is having significant impact. But this attack will even further aggravate their ability to gain revenue source. Without revenue...
No, it's not. Like, I don't know how much times I got to show this map for people to honestly understand how dumb this blockade truly is. It's like, guys, the problem is that Iran can get to two of their biggest buyers, one through Pakistan, of course, through Pakistan, and then two through the Caspian Sea. That is connected right to Russia, by the way, right to Russia. Yep. Caspian Sea connects Iran and Russia. And of course, Iran can go to Kazakhstan to access a railway that we cannot strike, by the way, because it's in another country, that they can go ahead and transport their oil to China, which is right over here. So they have two accesses to China. They either go through Pakistan or Kazakhstan's railway. Like, yeah, they're not being held up in any way, shape, or form, and this blockade's not really working. But hey, they'll sell it to you like it is. They sure will sell it to you like it is. All right, make sure to double tap that screen, like the video, guys. And if you have any question, comment, jokes, or disagreements, feel free to super chat it in or send it on a Venmo. Appreciate the support, guys. Let's go.
It's hard to see how this regime can survive. So we put it on a path. And I think at some point at the end of this thing, after we open the Straits of Hormuz and begin to get it secure, offer the IRGC leaders, a free trip out to a place of their choice and see if we can work a deal, that kind of a deal with them, and make some positive changes in the regime. So yes, we are on the cusp of returning to full throttle combat operations.
One of the things that happened over the weekend was an attack on a nuclear plant in UAE, in the Emirates, and this was posted saying that the terrorist targeting of the Barakah clean nuclear power plant, whether carried out by the principal perpetrator or through one of its agents, represents a dangerous escalation and a dark scene that violates all international laws and norms in criminal disregard for the lives of civilians in the UAE and its surroundings. Sir, if the Situation Room, where the National Security Council will meet tomorrow, was an emergency room, how would you triage this? What is the biggest problem that the United States needs to try to solve and what they work through tomorrow?
Well, I think we've had a very good plan from the outset, and we decided to go to a ceasefire because the Iranians were making some noises about wanting to negotiate. That plan, if anything, has improved considerably over the last 5 or 6 weeks, as I've stated. So our people know what to do, and they certainly know how to do it. And there's no doubt in my mind that we're going to be able to accomplish the original objectives we set for ourselves here. And that's make sure they don't.
I mean, it's kind of crazy how we sit there with the propaganda and say that, oh, no, they were begging for a ceasefire. They was on their knees begging. Then we give them our demands. They sit there and turn around and walk away and then hit us with their own maximalist demands. Like, does that sound like, they were begging for a ceasefire, guys? I'm just saying, does that sound like, somebody was begging when they just walk away from it completely?
Have a nuclear capability, dismantle their ballistic missile and drone program rather comprehensively, and have them not be in a position to continue to be predators in the region and support for proxies. And I think while we're not going to put ground troops in to force a regime change, I think we can do just about everything that's possible to put them on a path for that regime change. And I would hope that the CIA and the Mossad are working very hard here to undermine the regime and also to provide any assistance we can to the Iranian people. I'm just making the assumption that that is a corollary program that's paralleling what we're about to do with military operations.
So it is a critical week, and we await the next step. General, it's good to start the week with you. Thank you, Jack King, for coming back today.
Yeah, great talking to you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube.
Yeah. So what about him?
It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start in the UK before we make our way to the US. We saw huge numbers marching against mass immigration,
My bad, guys. My bad. I said we're gonna go ahead and do a Lefties Losing It, and then I was kind of going off on this this lady right here. Trying to remember what her name was. Rita? Yes, Rita. So yeah, the problem with her is that what was it? I think she's a diaspora Iranian, you know, the delusional ones that pretty much think that, oh, we can bring back the Shah, and you know, those delusional bastards that actually think it's okay, that actually think that the people of Iran are cheering for America to bomb them. Yes, those delusional Iranian guys. Yeah, she's one of them, and due to that, I mean, it does kind of brainwash her on the geopolitical side. It makes her actually think that, oh no, we can actually beat Iran, change the regime, and get Mashal in, you know, Mashal, the same dictatorial Shah that they, you know, the Iranian people overthrew. But you know, her people aren't really taught that side of the history. They're taught that, oh, it was a bunch of communists and a bunch of haters of the Shah. That's all it was. It wasn't a unification of the Iranian people of different parties and mindset to go against them, against the Shah. No, 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 that's fake news. No, it was just the communists. Yeah, I know, right?
It's time for Lefties Losing It. Let's start in the UK before we make our way to the US. We saw huge numbers marching against mass immigration, marching against the leftist government of Keir Starmer. The aerial shots of London paint a picture, and they show that Brits did not listen to the Prime Minister.
Tomorrow's march in London is a reminder of what we're up against in the battle of our values. The organisers, including convicted thugs and racists, are peddling hatred and division.
Yes, according to Keir, anyone marching, including these grannies, are right-wing extremists. They're thugs and white supremacists. They should be shunned and silenced. Well, let's look at some of the hate on the streets of London.
Love him. It's the least I can do. Okay. I love you. I love you too.
And that is white supremacy unfolding right in front of our eyes.
Disturbing scenes. The sad truth is that for these self-loading Brits, these anti-West leftists, the mere sight of the Union Jack, the St. George Cross, is triggering. A scene like this would send them into therapy.
Start the marches there and check out the streets of London today. What a beautiful sight. Fully loaded. Look at that, people.
You know, it is a nice thing. The thing is, they gather for the patriotism and all that good stuff. Oh, wait, what the fuck am I? Bro, oh my God. Yeah, see, this is where it's like people kind of go outside the whole patriotism aspect of it. Like, I can respect, you know, fighting for the British identity and all this good stuff. I can respect that. Like, you could be, you know, of any different shade and, you know, honestly respect what it is to be British. But when you start adding the Iranian flags into there, yeah, we start understanding that this isn't really about being British, and this is about attacking Muslims, sadly. Like, and I wish it was about, you know, UK being, you know, proud to be a Brit, being proud to be part of the UK society and the history and the rich history that it has. But no, this is literally about hating a group of people and an ideology that these people don't even understand.
Absolutely insane.
And they would hate the Christian symbolism, the number of people.
No, nobody hates the Christian symbolism. It's just the part where, like, these Christians have to feel like they gotta bastardize another religion to make themselves feel good about their own. And I always do say, if you got to tear another religion down to build your own up, or tear other people down to build yourself up, that says a lot about you. It says, honestly, says you got bad character. Let's just be honest. And you ain't really speaking the truth. You just speaking, well, honestly, in your own prejudice. And I'm be real with you, nobody want to listen to somebody like that. Like, you can sit there and be a Christian and hallelujah. Trust me, I'm with you on that. But if you sit there and use it as the way to put down Muslims and to make them and try to make them feel ashamed of themselves, I think you're a disgusting human being.
Carrying crosses, the number of Christians taking part in this rally. And this was a diverse march. There were people of all backgrounds.
And I stand for this cross, which is Christianity, and I stand for togetherness, and I stand for British values, because I'm British, and this belongs to the people that are here, that have pushed into the system. And
yeah, but sis, here's a problem. There's people that wouldn't even consider you British. Why? Because you're not white. You got to understand, when mixing in with people like this, you got to understand that they're kind of using you as cover. Like, yeah, lady, they're using you as cover. There's a lot of guys here that do not consider you Brit unless you come from white. Not black, not the ones that are brought over here through slavery and all that good stuff. No, unless you're just pure blood white. So you think that, and trust me, I think of you as a Brit too. But a lot of people in this crowd don't even consider you it, even if you were born in that country.
Come over illegal. My mum and dad are from Jamaica, and guess what? They had a passport because they came through the front door. Didn't come on a bloody boat.
And this lady also declined to see Tommy Robinson as some unrepentant racist.
Brings you to London?
Well, Tommy Robinson, I wouldn't consider him a racist. I would consider him definitely anti-Islam, which is all right, I guess. But I think that the way he promotes his whole anti-Islam agenda and all this good stuff, and he aligns himself with Israel and the pro-Zionist movement, it kind of just shows you where his interest lies. Honestly, this isn't about saving England from Islamification. This is about building a hatred towards Muslims to further push people into war in the Middle East.
Tommy Robinson, basically, yeah.
So what about him do you like?
His courage, basically, because he has
a real with you. If this is about Islamification, then I mean, let's be real though. These people start kicking him out by force, but they're not. They're not.
Courage. He can stand up by himself, like, you know. So I would say his courage and his faith as well.
What about the people that have been calling Tommy Robinson racist for his views?
I think they have their own problem.
Yeah, they do have problems, don't they? And there is always a...
yeah, because remember, he's anti-Islam. I mean, you could be white, Asian, like Arab, of course, mainly Muslims. But yeah, you could be any race like in the world and be a Muslim. So him being anti-Islam does not mean bro's a racist. Like, let's just be real. Honestly, he don't like you if you're a Muslim and you're any shade, any diverse, any ethnicity. He don't like you if you're a Muslim. That's it. And that doesn't really mean he's racist. That just means he's prejudiced against Muslims. He's prejudiced against the ideology of Islam. That's it. But if you're like a Christian and you're an Arab, he loves you. If you're a Christian and you're an Asian, he loves you. But if you're a Muslim and you're an Arab, all right, then all of a sudden now you're a problem. And that's the problem here, is like you shouldn't be that way towards people, you know, due to the religion they practice. And it's a very un-American way to think. That's why it kills me that we're adopting it over here.
Brave white leftist woman ready to emote wildly. Watch this young lady cry her eyes out.
And if that, you know, comment kind of stung a little bit for you to hear, like, oh, Sid, why is that un-American? Because we believe in freedom of religion, bro. Did you forget? Did your Christian supremacist ass forget? This is about freedom of speech, freedom of religion, where our country's built on that. All right, good. Now, if you did, now go in the corner and go read our Constitution, our amendments.
A massive
all
march.
Crying is hilarious.
Oh, it's so sad. All these people loving their country and marching. How will she ever cope? But the march did unite the nation in their shared hatred of the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Yes, Tama is he's a wank, He's no sense. He has no common sense. That's what I would. A pig is better because we eat it.
And there was a very British chant that went up outside the PM's residence. It rhymes with banker but starts with W. And of course,
Keir
these
Starmer,
marches always attract.
Well, Keir Starmer is a wanker. Let's just be real. He is.
A counter protest. This year's was fairly lackluster. So let's look at a classic from last year. This mother and son team, so loving, so sane and likable. Of course, I jest. They're feral.
Show him your sign.
All right, let's see. Off Nazis. All right, would you like to elaborate?
I mean, I think he summed it up really. Nazis are
Yeah, somebody called Children's Services. She's raising a mental patient. Let's just keep it real. She is literally raising a mental patient, guys. And we need to do our part to help this little girl. Like, yo.
Okay.
anti-Tommy Robinson, anti-division, pro-Palestine. So why are you here, Roshi? What do you feel about Tommy Robinson?
Your thoughts on Tommy Robinson?
I want to eat him. He is a big
Yeah.
For 10 years.
Yeah, that's a future homicidal maniac right there.
Now, and particularly in the past 6 years, we've heard the Democrats repeat the lie that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, that he's a fascist, unfit for office. As is often the case with the left, every accusation is a confession. Here is failed Democrat presidential candidate Kamala Harris putting on the agenda a list of malicious measures to upend democracy as we know it, to ensure her political opponents never win again. Sounds a bit fascist to me.
We talk about what we need to do and think about doing around the Electoral College.
Yo.
We talk about the idea.
I swear to God, that's all I've been seeing on all these Democrat pages is that, oh, we shall abolish the Electoral College and just go for the popular vote. Abolish the Electoral College. And here's the thing. I'm like, are y'all sure that's even going to work for you guys no more? You know, you lost the popular vote last time too, right? So, you know, that doesn't really make sense to keep pushing when you lost the popular vote and the electoral. So I'm sorry, but that might not be what the position you guys want to push. Maybe back when, you know, when it was Trump and Hillary, okay, sure. But now is not it.
Of Supreme Court reform, which includes expanding the Supreme Court. We invite a conversation about multi-members districts.
She calls it a no bad idea brainstorm. I call it.
User, whoever told you that lie is crazy. Come on, bro. User, you can't believe that. User, come on. He's like, did you know only Muslims are allowed to carry a knife? No lie. Like, bro, I'm sorry. Wait, where? Because in America, everybody's allowed to carry a knife. In the UK, nobody's allowed to carry a knife at all. But they illegally carry knives because you can't have a gun. And because you can't have a gun, they have a huge knife problem. And it's not just Muslims or Arab people who don't mean you well that carry knives as well. They got black people that carry knives recklessly, white people that carry knives recklessly in the UK. The UK has a huge knifing problem. So to sit there and say that, oh, it's only Muslims that could do so, bro, can you give me the UK law where it says that? Like, really think about how crazy like that is that you believe that, bro. Think about how nonsensical that is that they would even allow Muslims to have that type of pass in the UK. Think about the propaganda you've been fed to literally believe that that's a thing. And I'll look it up, but I promise you that's not a real thing.
Cheating. And Kamala, just a little reminder.
Bro, what? Dog, you went from making it sound like it was a law in the UK to now, oh, it's in their religion. No, it's not in their religion that you can knife people, bro. I'm sorry. As somebody who actually knows Muslims, no. You can ask one. They said no. Like, if you ask a Muslim right now, is it okay for you to knife people in their religion? They're gonna look at you like you're stupid, bro. I'm so serious. You know I love you. But they're going to look at you like you're a little dumbass if you sit there and ask them, yo, is it okay to knife people in my religion? Are you talking about what, Tariq or Tarak or whatever they're saying, that where they say Muslims say it's okay to lie? Yeah. You know, that was like completely taken out of context. it was taken from a passage where they said it's okay to lie if your life is in danger, because when the Crusades were happening, they were killing you if you're a Muslim, Jewish, or Christian. Even living under Muslim control, it would still kill you. So they would tell you, look, man, if you got to lie to save your life, do so. That's where that comes from. So, and maybe if that's what you're talking about, but hey, it is what it is. It's in their religion. Like, no, bro, no. Carrying knives is not in their religion, bro. I mean, I'll look it up. But it is like, it's so key. Come on, bro. Really? Like, you believe that? All right.
You could get rid of the Electoral College altogether and you still wouldn't be president. Trump won the popular vote along with every swing state. But let's hear more ideas from Kamala.
Let's talk about statehood for Puerto Rico and D.C. These are the things I think that we've got to do. We've got to neutralize these red states from cheating, including blue states expanding their maps.
Blue states expanding their maps to stop red states from cheating. By cheating, she means voting and those votes counting. She wants to negate the votes of her opponents while introducing new blue states and expanding existing blue states.
Wow. All right, bro. Let me go ahead and break this down for you. Because like I said, bro, it's crazy that you believe this, but lawful intent, like, yeah, carrying a knife for protection, hunting, or other daily tasks is permissible. The Prophet Muhammad forbade carrying a weapon unsheathed or in a manner that could cause accidental harm. The Prophet Muhammad said that. So like I said, you guys don't even know the religion. You take things out of context, or you read whatever X brainwash you to believe about Islam, then you bring it to me and I laugh because it's just so nonsensical. Like, really if you'd have really looked that up beforehand, dog, I promise you'd have found this out. It's like, it says nothing about honestly carrying a knife, what, to kill people? No, it's talking about carrying a knife as a way of, for protection, which, I mean, other religions say you can do, hunting, daily tasks. It just sounds like a practical thing. So pretty much the religion talks about using a knife in a practical way, and you guys pretty much frame it as what, a death cult? Oh, they're allowed to carry knives because they're a death cult now. Do you see how brainwashed some of you guys are when it comes to Islam? Or do I just got to keep on proving you guys wrong when it comes to this stuff? Like, I just need to know, like, what do I honestly got to do to make y'all less delusional about Islam? I really don't care that much. I'm not going to go that far, but just give me something that'll make you be like, you know what, Seth? Maybe I was wrong about Islam. Maybe I was. Give me something that's reasonable. Because I ain't no dean here. I ain't going to lie. I ain't no Islamic scholar. But I do know Muslims. And trust me, most of the stuff you guys say is erroneous as hell. Like, just absolutely wrong.
And gerrymandering like hell. Donald Trump demands election integrity after 2020 and is called a threat to democracy. Kamala wants to destroy American democracy. And do you see any outrage from media circles? Of course not.
User, you're kind of being delusional at this point, dog. You're kind of being delusional. Prophet Muhammad forbade carrying a weapon unsheathed. Like, allowed to carry but not unsheathed. Bro, it just said that he forbade it from you from carrying a weapon unsheathed, aka you gotta carry it sheathed, put it in its holster, not just have it out, just look like you ready to go at any time. Like, bro, are you serious? Like, come on, bro. Let's be intellectually honest here.
We now is Newsweek's senior editor at large, Josh Hammer. Josh, tell me.
Yo, plug, what's going on, big dog? Hey, yo, make sure you like the video and all that good stuff. Going through a shadow ban right now. I mean, you know how that is. 2 weeks and then you're back on.
What would be the impact of these Kamala ideas, expanding the Supreme Court, statehood for Puerto Rico and DC, not to mention messing with the Electoral College and having blue states expand their maps?
You know, the crazy thing is, I don't want the Democrats to do any of that at all. But the thing is, you guys pushing this Iran war is going to actually make that happen. And like I said, it's not going to be because Republicans just decide to vote Democrat. No, it's going to be the independents that's going to lean towards the Democrats, and it's going to be the voter turnout of the Democrats who are highly disgruntled at what's going on right now. Like Democrats who didn't vote are going to vote, and it's going to be voter turnout that cooks the Republicans if they continue down this path. You know, just keeping it real with you guys. But I do want to see this real quick. Hold on. Let me see if I can bring this whole Kamala stuff up, because I ain't gonna lie, her rant was drunken as hell. Like you could tell she was off her rocker saying this stuff. Like, bro, check this out. This was a little bit wild.
To me,
we talk about what we need to do and think about doing around the Electoral College. We talk about the idea of Supreme Court reform, which includes expanding the Supreme Court. We invite a conversation about multi-members districts.
she calls it a no bad idea brainstorm. I call it cheating. And Kamala, just a little reminder, you could get rid of the Electoral College altogether and you still wouldn't be president. Trump won the popular vote along with every swing state. But let's hear more ideas from Kamala.
That argument only works out if you're Hillary Clinton. If you're Hillary Clinton, then you can sit there and cry about, oh, the electoral vote cost me the election. But come on, Kamala, you lost everything. Bro, you didn't even win a swing state. Like, how the hell do you lose all swing states? That's a pretty crazy achievement right there. To lose all swing states, not one? Yeah, you might want to sit down as a candidate. That was like the worst loss Democrats have ever taken. But here they are trying to run another woman for some reason. AOC, what was it? I know Jasmine Crockett's out of the running because she lost her seat, but they still got AOC trying to go up there. And then who else is they got trying to go? I know Pritzker, which would be hilarious because the fat jokes, if they run that guy, will be unlimited. Like, I will have unlimited big bag jokes for that guy. But all right, guys, let's get back into the media analysis. And let's get back into some criticisms about Trump when it comes to this 25,000 CCP spies. Let's get right into it, guys. And don't forget to double tap that screen and like the video. All right.
So this is the part about the 500,000 Chinese students in U.S. universities. Rob, if you want to play this clip, Tom, I'm going to come to you on this one first because I know you're a big fan of this. Go ahead, Rob.
It's 500,000 students. They come, good students. I could tell them, I don't want any students. Is a very insulting thing to say to a country.
Is it though? Is it wrong just to tell China, like, look, man, we just got done deporting like 600,000 people. The hell we look like bringing in 600,000 to take like positions in colleges, then go out and take job positions in our job market. Like, why would we do that? And y'all not even being fair with us on trade like that. We're not even really getting an equal share here. And of course, we're flooding fentanyl into our country. And we're just supposed to allow them to bring in like 600,000 H-1B visas or foreign students. Like, I'm sorry, but we're not doing that. I wish we wouldn't do that is how I really used to phrase it.
They would then immediately go out and start building universities all over China. But if you don't have those students, good students, by the way, if you don't, and we do another thing, if they're good and they want to stay in America, we won't give them a green card and things like that. And that not only them, but other countries. But if you want to see a university system die, take 500,000 people out of it. It's 5.
Like I said, I do understand it is all part of the deal, but bro, if this is the deal that we're getting, where like Trump's pretty much telling us, yo, without these Chinese students, our universities die. I'm like, then y'all just need to take down the whole system. If you're telling me that these universities literally run on giving slots away to foreigners, then I'm sorry, but the whole system got to go if it's just built on foreign money, literally built on foreign funding. And if we get mad when our politicians are like that, so the hell we're allowing our schools to be like that. But all right, back to it.
So,
but Pat, the same token, like, okay, again, I'm not gonna act like I know everything. I wasn't in any of these meetings, obviously, but you can, on one hand, say they spy on us and we spy on them. If you don't think the CCP is talking to every single one of those students, and maybe let's just say conservatively, Tom, ready for numbers talk? Are you ready, Tom? out of 500,000, let's say 5% are spies, or 5% are, what is that?
500,000 come in.
Yes.
How many are spies? Probably 501,000.
So no, I'm asking
You're
you
saying
the
five.
numbers.
It's 2,500.
So
You're saying
2,500.
5%. Yeah.
Jesus.
2,500
They're all-
that we don't trust. And then on the same, and then the flip side,
25,000. 25,000.
25,000 students that could potentially be spies. And then you're going to say,
No. They're all going to come in as spies. Some of them are going to be, like persuaded through the American lifestyle. They might get a cute white girl or something, and they might change their ways. But the rest of them are going to stay loyal to the CCP. And if we allow those guys in, I'm going to be real with you guys, the manufacturing of chips and auto car and car parts and all that good stuff, they're going to give that to the Asians. That's what they did with the battery factory in Georgia. It was the South Koreans who brought it over here, and they filled it with Koreans. So it kind of looks like Trump is kind of lining us up for that finesse work that they were doing in Georgia. And the funny thing is, ICE bust in and kick down those doors, but they ain't gonna kick down the doors of the Chinese. I know that for a fact. Like, that's man. But 2,500 though, 25,000 would be crazy.
hey, well, they're probably good students. No, I'm sorry, Pat.
Wait, 25,000 or 2,500? That's what
You can't trust them. Are we sending our students?
Yeah, because this goes to the story of Arcadia, Rob, if you want to go to it.
Yeah.
A mayor in Arcadia who did all her campaigns in Chinese, and then eventually she comes out and she says, what? I'm a spy. Check this. Is this the one, Rob? Eileen Wang? Go ahead, Rob.
Now at 11, from secret messages to pro-China propaganda, the SoCal
Look-
mayor
look at
accused of acting as an illegal covert agent for Beijing for years. Good evening. I'm Micah Oman.
And I'm Cher Calvin. The mayor of Arcadia has now resigned and taken a plea deal after the FBI says she admitted to secretly serving the interests of the Chinese government.
Carlos Saucedo live in Arcadia for us tonight. Carlos.
It looks like a real life anchorman.
Micah, Sher, the city of Arcadia is without a mayor tonight after Eileen Wang stepped down following these federal charges. Now, she's accused of acting as a foreign agent for the Chinese government, and tonight the Trump administration is weighing in.
Arcadia 第三区4
That's Eileen Wang in 2022 campaign video when she was running for Arcadia City Council.
So this is
on
the
Monday.
part.
The
Did they not
58-year-old
see that one?
What? I'm sorry, but how did you not see that coming when she's doing her whole little spiel in Chinese? Like, wouldn't that just yell, like, I don't know, Chinese spy? Because that would be a pretty obvious tell to me. It's like, hold on. You didn't, like, you did your ad in Chinese, in complete Chinese? And you also support the CCP as well? And, you also support the human rights violations? I don't know. Are you sure we should elect this lady as mayor? You know what? I wonder who did it. Was it Republicans or Democrats? I feel like Democrats would be dumb enough to do this. But you also can't put nothing past the Republicans.
Coming?
Where is
like
Arcadia
she is like speaking like complete Chinese.
Well,
like,
apparently, and this is allegedly, Eric Swalwell wanted to spy on her.
Really?
And because that's his type, and you couldn't do it.
she doesn't
And
like
so,
a fang fang.
but the point is, so this is the part. It's a real issue that a lot of Americans are worried, saying, "Hey, wait a minute. I thought it's America first. I thought it's about us first." And it's like,
yeah, it's about putting Americans first, aka American scholars should go ahead and take those positions. American scholars should be the ones. Well, I'm gonna be real with you, not only taking the positions in colleges, but taking the positions in tech, medicine, like, bro, what was it? Mathematics, electricity. Man, I'm sorry, guys. I'm having a brain fart moment here. Engineering. Sorry, I'm forgetting all the acronym of STEM for some reason. But yeah, all American scholars should be pushed into this before any H-1B visas is used at all whatsoever. And if we're going to bring in the H-1B visas, then you know what? Let's pay them the same as Americans so there isn't any incentive to undermine us. Because, I mean, hey, they got to pay more or about the same for us. I mean, for them as they do for us, then I'm gonna be real with you. Then we're really going to see who's more skillful at that point.
no, it's really the education. And Humberto made a very good point about, you come here, you learn the system, and then you take the stuff back and you're doing what you're doing over there.
No.
And then also at the same time, it's like if the U.S. educational system is not performing and it's losing and it's going in a direction where we're seeing what results it is, well, maybe some of them got to go out of business. This is 500,000 customers you're bringing to some of the guys. So that's the criticism. of the educational system. Rob, you're so funny. You pull up this clip right now to go to it. But yeah, oh my, I'm already laughing playing this. This is by the way, this is our current educational system on how well our students read in some of the markets. Where is this, Rob?
Philadelphia.
This is Philadelphia. Go ahead, Rob.
Read the index card for me.
She wore a suit, clothes that were.
She wore a silhouette of clothes that were extraordinarily. No, what? My bad. Extraordinary, but somewhat gauche. Wait, you can't read that? All right.
Are you serious?
Who's this for? That were. She wore a suit, clothes that were.
Are you serious?
Who's this for?
Oh my! This is a joke.
Extraordinary, but somewhat.
Extraordinary.
No, explain what that means.
I don't know.
She wore a sahalat of clothes that were extraordinary, whatever, bro.
Oh my.
But somewhat.
What does that mean?
She wore a lot. Wait, she wore. Bro, I don't know, bro. Can you take the card back, please?
She wore a. Oh, baby. She wore a silhouette of
What is this, Rob?
clothes that were.
Is this a joke?
No, this is they have a hard time saying silhouette.
Yeah. Well, I don't even know how to read. Oh shit. Oh crap. Oh, I'm sorry. That one got me right there. I was like, no. Don't just say you don't know how to read. That is crazy. And it's not even that hard of a sentence. I do see where he's catching him up on. What she wore a silhouette of clothes that were extraordinary but somewhat gauche. I'm like, I think the gauche part is going to catch people up though.
She wore a silhouette of clothes that were
Okay,
extraordinary.
go to the. Is there last one, Rob? Is there something at the end? Oh, this is the one that he gets. Keep going, Rob. Keep going, Rob.
All right, now what does that mean?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
She wore a.
This is the one. Kid, this.
I don't know what this should say.
Basically, they're saying that what? She wore some clothes with a silhouette that was extraordinary. AKA, I mean, I guess her body's banging, by the way. But somewhat gauche. I mean, what? Average? I think the gauche part probably would F me up. I ain't gonna lie. Know a lot of words.
By the way, we're laughing at these kids. But what's funny is that it's not even funny. It's our educational system is letting down these kids.
Jeez.
Standards. You don't know how to say the word silhouette. Now, listen, when I first came to the States, I didn't know how to say Wednesday. Because we would watch a show called Gilligan's Island.
Yes.
I don't know if you guys remember Gilligan's Island, right?
You would eat.
I'm not gonna lie. This is where I think we do need a ban. TikTok and social media. And I mean, if it's doing this to the kids, bro, then I'm sorry though. We gotta stop it. This is unacceptable. And the difference between how I grew up and how they grew up is I didn't grow up with a phone in my hand. Like I'm 30, guys. Like, bro, I'm like in between a millennial and a Gen Z. So I've kind of lived the best of both worlds on each side of their generations. And that's the problem there. Is like I didn't grow up with technology like they did. Like kids are born in the early 2000s, like my little brother, bro. By the time they were my age, I would say this, by the time they were in their tweens, they already had like iPhones and iPads. When I was in my 11, 10 years old, bro, we still had the Game Boy. It was Pokemon Yellow and Blue. That's it.
lasagna, right? We didn't know how to. I didn't know how to, but I was fresh off the boat. You know, we just got off. I swam across, and it was like we came and we went to school. It was a different scenario.
Yeah.
If you were
that and parents had to be parents. Like, bro, back in the day, like your mom used to literally take your ass out to the park or the little ghetto ass water park that was at the library, you know, a couple blocks away, something like that. Like your parents actually used to be a little bit more involved with you. They actually used to talk to you, and now they just put an iPad in front of you. And trust me, I seen how my little cousin's being done. Literally, bro, just get an iPad thrown in front of them, tossed in front of YouTube on a channel that don't teach them nothing, that just plays a game in front of them. And I'm like, that's just the most brain rot thing you can do. And now the kid got a whole lot of problems. It's kind of sad and a little heartbreaking, but it is what it is.
We're born and raised here, and you have a hard time with some of these words. Our educational, system's got a bit of fixing to do. So, Tom, let me ask you, is Jensen Huang celebrating right now after coming back from China? Who's the biggest winner? Who are the biggest losers coming back from China?
So I think I think the biggest winner is still in China, and it's those.
Yeah, I got my first phone when I was like, what, 11? Like, yeah, 6th grade. Yeah, that's when I got my first phone. Everybody was shouting out their first phone in the chat. And then user comes through like, yep, 2012. I'm 60. Damn. Well, dang. Shout out user. But yeah, I would say most of us in our 30s, that's around the time we got our first phone. But like either going into our tweens around that time. And thing is, it wasn't even nothing impressive. We got like flip phones or the brick Nokia phones. We didn't pop out a whole iPhone like 8s or iPhone 12s and 14s. Like that wasn't our generation, guys. We were just getting out the flip phones and sidekicks.
Companies that now are going to be able to buy more powerful chips. And Jensen may be a winner. Let's go take a look today, see what the market thinks on the flatback. Oh, down $10. So they gave back the gain that they had yesterday. Wow, that's interesting. Okay, right. So they march up the mountain, they march down the mountain. That's interesting. Look at that. Up a day ago, $10, and now down. So
winners and losers. Are there any clear winners and losers with this?
I think NVIDIA is a clear winner. I think all those companies in China that got the more powerful chips are clear winners. I think Citibank is a clear winner. They've wanted to be to have a kind of the equivalent of RIA for wealthy Chinese.
But all right, guys, let's go ahead on since we're speaking about stock market and on that, all that good stuff. Let's get on to Trump confesses on why he's tanking the global economy, and of course, it's young turds, so excuse the media spin, but let's get into it.
While neoconservative warmongers like Robert Kagan are willing to admit that the United States has lost the war against Iran and lost badly.
Nah, I ain't gonna lie, you was low-key that nigga. I ain't gonna lie, bro had a Razor. That was like the coolest phone you could have had back then, bro. If you had a Razor, you was getting dead ass, you was getting any girl's number at that time. At that time, you was getting any girl's number with a Razor. It was just that sexy of a phone. Like, just look up what a Razor is, guys. You'll realize why I'm low-key fanboying around about it right now. One, because I've always been a tech head. And two, that was just a sexy-ass phone.
It's important to know that the US isn't the only loser. The global economy is. And there's no end in sight because Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu declared on CBS's 60 Minutes that the war is not over yet. Here's what he said. The Iran war accomplished a great deal, but it's not over because there's still nuclear material, enriched uranium that has to be taken out of Iran. There are still enrichment sites that have to be dismantled. There are still proxies that Iran supports. There are ballistic missiles that they still want to produce. Now we've degraded a lot of it, but all that is still there and there's work to be done. So,
it's crazy. They give these analysis without ever really telling us what the F they needed. Well, they want us to do about it. It's like, okay, yeah, we know Iran has all this. We know we haven't really decimated their missile capability. Yeah, we know, but what do you want us to do? And the reason why they don't say it is because they kind of want us to come to the conclusion ourselves. They want us to put boots on the ground. That's the only way we're going to take care of that regime, their ballistic missile capability of producing, and the ones they have right now that could just strike into Israel whenever they want. So, yeah. That's what honestly kills me about these guys' analysis of when they break down Iran's capability. It's like, all right, great. Well, what are you willing to do about it, Israel? Nothing at all. They just want us to figure it out.
A lot of it,
while they annex southern Lebanon.
But all that is still there and there's work to be done. So how much longer can the global economy handle this war dragging on for months, maybe even years? Because oil prices rose today after Trump declared that he would be rejecting Iran's counter proposal for peace, calling it garbage. So US West Texas Intermediate Futures, they got to find a better name, and Brent are both up around 40% since.
Yeah, and that is true. Now, you know me, guys, I'll check these oil futures all the time, just to see where we're at because it goes up pretty much by the hour. So It is what it is on that note. But right now we are still hanging over about $110, and that's Brent crude for their oil. And then WTI is about $107, like right now, $107, and Brent crude is about to head up to $111 because at 110.9. And that's just where we're standing at right now.
The US and Israeli-led war against Iran started on February 28th. Citi analysts wrote in their latest oil report that prices could rise further if Iran and the United States do not agree to a deal, adding that crude markets have been cushioned by high inventories, strategic petroleum reserve releases, weaker demand in developing economies, and intermittent signs of possible de-escalation in the Middle East. I should note that today, Trump apparently is spooked by how high gas prices already are, that he called for a temporary pause on all gas taxes. We'll see if that's actually carried out. But Cenk, something that you've been mentioning a lot on the show, there's a huge disconnect.
Oh no, and rate cuts are definitely cooked too. Like the thing is, we could really only cut rates when the job market is good and when inflation is heading down or actually gaining some value back in our dollar. So, but while inflation is going up and prices are going up, bro, those rate cuts are cooked. It's absolutely cooked. And I think Trump kind of knew this, or he should have known this walking into this war. And that's what I was saying. The whole Make America Great Again agenda, or his fixing of the economy, was cooked as soon as he walked into this conflict.
When it comes to the stock market versus what we're experiencing at the pump.
No, and to be honest, Plug, I really don't know what Trump really wants to do with housing. It's like he kind of placates to the baby boomers and says, no, I don't want to bring down housing costs. But then he also tries to placate to our side. It's too like, oh, don't worry, I'm gonna make housing affordable. Well, bro, you can't. You're talking on both sides of your mouth here. Somebody got to eat dirt. I think it should be the baby boomers. They had a good run. This pricing is inflated and it's been built on the backs of the younger generation. So let's go ahead and take some of our money back, bring down some of their property costs or their housing costs, and maybe we can save ourselves a little bit on our purchasing power for housing. But somebody got to eat dirt, and I don't think it should be us because we've been eating dirt for decades now. So yes, let's let the older people eat the dirt. Let's let their housing prices get brought down, and let's see where that goes from there.
Because the stock market is doing stupendously. But when it comes to what we're paying at the pump, obviously prices have gone up quite a bit and will continue to go up as this war drags on.
So I want to go to graphic 9, right? So you see when the war started, the markets crash, Trump panics, does a ceasefire, right? And and he keeps saying the war is over, the war is almost over, the war is almost over. We won, they're gonna concede on everything. And the idiots in the market have the market go completely back up and back to record levels, close to when Pam Bondi was like, the market's at 50,000, right? So here we are back at 50,000 in that ballpark, and it's given Trump false confidence. So it's a cycle of stupidity that is going to lead to disaster because Trump's like, guys, we almost won. And the morons on Wall Street are like, we almost won, everybody buy, 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 buy. Yeah, we're gonna get bye-bye soon. And so now, because Trump thinks it's no big deal, he said today, I thought the market was gonna go down 20-25%. So he knew how much damage he was gonna do to America on behalf of Israel, but he chose to do that anyway. He said, oh, I took a bullet for this. Why?
Yeah, why?
Weak. I mean, to give the man grace, I think he was just trying to cover his ass. I think he was just trying to sit there and be like, no, it wasn't that bad. Like, guys, I thought gas price was going to be like $10. It's only $4 or $5. I mean, come on, guys. It's not that bad as I originally projected. I think he was just talking out of his ass to make things seem like it's not as bad as, it could have been. When, I mean, let's be real. I don't think he's seen any of this coming, and he was just covering his ass with that one. I can't really say that he just admitted to selling out. Well, he did sell out the American people to Israel's for MEGA, or Make Israel Great Again, or for Israel's interest in the Middle East. But I can't sit there and have that opinion that, oh no, this is him admitting it. Nah, he's just covering his ass, as Trump's known to do.
Okay, because you're making America take a bullet. You're making our economy take a bullet, along with yourself and your politics. And we know why. I don't care if everyone in mainstream media lies to you. It's blackmail. The bribes alone doesn't do it. Okay, a lot of people are bribing him. A lot of countries are bribing him. No, at this point, the way he's following Israel, no matter how much it's obviously going to his doom, and when he only cares about himself, that means the blackmail is worse than him being considered the worst president in history, okay? So what's going to happen in that market, hear me now, quote me later, is when we go back into the war, because Netanyahu just ordered us back into the war, and then Trump ripped up the peace deal, and Trump just said today, there's only a 1% chance we don't go back into the war. Markets didn't go down at all. They're like, no, the war's almost over. Bye, 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 bye. Okay, it's going to be a spectacular crash.
So Richard Wolff, economist Richard Wolff, made a statement that hasn't left me ever since I heard it, because I think it's exactly right. Markets are slow to react to reality, but then once they do, they tend to overcorrect. So you're 100%. Right. That crash is coming, and it's going to be
epic.
It's going to be devastating to a lot of, I mean, look, when you really think about who's invested in the stock market, about 80% of the stock market is owned by the top 10% of this country, okay? But that doesn't erase the fact that a lot of working class Americans have the entirety of their retirement savings in 401ks or IRAs. Stock market crashes, these people who might be getting ready to retire are gonna suffer significantly. So I'm so angry about this whole situation.
Gone. It'd have been better if they'd have placed their money in rare earth metals, or pretty much in gold and silver, like, bro. But if the stock market crash and you're on 401ks and IRA, bro, it's gone. And that's just the sad reality of it. And that's what a lot of people, don't want to happen. Even though, I mean, the stock market crashes, it recovers, and you can gain back. But 9 times out of 10, people can't wait for the gain back, and they end up probably, jumping out of a. Okay, maybe I shouldn't take the joke that far, but fuck it. I mean, they're all their stocks crash and end up jumping out of a window or something, or crashing their car into a brick wall. And that's what was happening in 08 when people was losing their savings. And trust me, they didn't want to wait for their stock market to recover, because they need to pay their bills now. And your bills don't wait for the stock market to recover. It'd be nice if they did, though.
Situation, the fact that we are in a war that we should have never been in to begin with, even if Trump was able to accomplish, the objectives that he had outlined in the beginning of the war. Those are objectives on behalf of Israel. Those aren't objectives that benefit the United States in any way, shape, or form. We are carrying the cost, we're carrying the burdens, we're suffering the deaths and losses. Whereas Israel gets to bomb from afar and get us to do their dirty work for them as they're expanding their borders into southern Lebanon.
Yep.
Yeah, so last 2 things here. I asked a couple friends who are invest on a big way.
Let's get into what's going on in southern Lebanon. Because here at S.E.T Media, we like to go all around the world and make sure we give you perspectives from all walks of life. So let's get into what's going on when it comes to the Lebanese people.
Homes, neighborhoods, that is what Israeli strikes are destroying across southern Lebanon. They're also killing civilians. The United Nations says it's an unacceptable toll. A month into what is being called a ceasefire, nearly 700 people have been killed.
Yeah, I'm just going to let you know, they're going to try to remix Gaza, and they're going to use the excuse of human shields, even though there's really no proof of human shields being used. But don't worry, they're going to use that excuse, and you're going to buy it. But you're going to say Hezbollah is using them as human shield. That's why we got to kill civilians. Or Hezbollah was walked into that school, so that's why we had to bomb the school with the children and teachers inside. Trust me, trust me. That's what they're going to pull on us again. And a lot of the Zionists are going to go ahead and buy it. They're going to eat it up. And they're going to call you anti-Semitic for not buying it and eating it up.
Those who are pulled from the rubble.
Literally, yeah. Took villages and cities off the map in a day. Like, bro, what was it? They took a couple of villages off the map with 100 strikes in one day. And that's what killed the ceasefire the first time with the Iranians. So I was just like, bro, Israel is wilding on a whole different level.
Are sometimes only a few months old. An agreement between the governments of Israel and Lebanon to extend the ceasefire for a further 45 days so far remains just ink on paper. And the strikes are now taking place deeper inside the country, with frequent forced displacement threats to towns and villages roughly 55 kilometers north of the border. This is all happening while the United States hosts a diplomatic process between Lebanon and Israel, the first in decades. Political discussions are set to continue in early June, but there's still no commitment from Israel to Lebanon's priorities of a full cessation of hostilities and a complete Israeli withdrawal from Lebanese territory.
We had a wonderful exchange of over 2 hours.
The Israeli ambassador to the U.S. says, for the first...
You know what's so crazy about this is like Israel complains so much about Hezbollah, but they're the reason why Hezbollah exists because of their constant invasion of Lebanon and them trying to annex southern Lebanon. That's the only reason why these guys exist. I promise you, the day Israel stops trying to annex southern Lebanon is the day Hezbollah just disarms and, you know, waste away into time. Okay. But if Israel keeps on trying to take southern Lebanon, then, well, that just vindicates the existence of Hezbollah.
Time talks are not focused on when the Israeli army will withdraw from southern Lebanon because Israel's presence there is because of Hezbollah's presence. Lebanon.
And trust me, I don't like Hezbollah. They've killed American soldiers. But at the end of the day, you do got to understand why these terrorist groups even exist if you ever want to even solve the problem of terrorism or if you really want to get them to stop. And sadly, the only way to get Hezbollah to stop being Hezbollah is for Israel to chill the fuck out.
Also agreed to security talks with Israel. The United States will host those meetings at the Pentagon later this month. They're expected to focus on coordination and communication between the Lebanese and Israeli militaries. Here in Beirut, it is being seen as part of efforts to disarm Hezbollah, which could trigger tensions inside Lebanon. Hezbollah, which is refusing to hold fire as long as Israel reserves the right to strike at will, is accusing the Lebanese authorities of creating what it calls very big predicaments for the country. It says neither the government nor anyone else will be able to carry out what Israel wants. And while its drone and rocket attacks are inflicting casualties among Israeli troops, Israel's firepower is causing death and destruction. For now, at least, there's little to show for the meaningful progress reported by Lebanon's delegation to the Washington talks.
Bro, it's a complete dogfight right now between Hezbollah and the IDF. Like, there's thousands dead on each side. And yes, they are doing ground invasions. Like, they're putting boots on the ground. Israel's putting boots on the ground in Lebanon. So trust me, it's a very heated conflict. But all right, here, let's get on to something a bit more disturbing. I ain't gonna lie. It's a little wild here. So did you hear about that new law in Israel, guys, where if you're a Palestinian, you're convicted of terrorism, they're going to hang you? Yep, hang you from the gallows, my friend. So, and only if you're Palestinian. So you could be, you know, an Israeli and do the exact same crime. You damn near could have been like a you could have been a collaborator, but only the Palestinian will be hanged. And, you know, if you're an American, you understand why that is wrong because you're like, yo, this is like race-based punishment. I know, right? And yet they're doing it in Israel. But it's supposed to be, you know, the only democracy in the Middle East and our best ally.
A new Israeli law has taken effect that implements the death penalty for Palestinians convicted of carrying out lethal attacks against Israelis. The law was initially passed in March and celebrated by members of the Knesset. It makes execution the default punishment for Palestinians found guilty of crimes classified.
Basically, I think it's the Israeli Senate. I think the Knesset is the Israeli Senate, actually.
As acts of terrorism by Israeli military courts. Israeli citizens are excluded from the law's application.
I bet.
Let's go to Nida Ibrahim, who's in Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Nida, how is Israel planning to implement this law?
Well, let's first...
Easy. They're going to start mass executing all the Palestinian prisoners. I know, it's about to get brutal. And I'm going to tell you why. Because Israel do lock up these Palestinians on crimes of terrorism with no trial, no nothing. So now that you're saying you could just hang these guys as long as they got arrested for terrorism, yeah, mass hangings. by groups. This is why Ben Gavir got a birthday cake with a noose on it, because he knows what time it is. They're about to start doing mass hangings in Israel of Palestinians. And then, if Hamas does another October 7th, oh my God, it's the evil Arabs. It's like, bro. It's irritating to hear stuff like this, but I'm telling you, this is what caused a lot of the problems in Israel, especially when it comes to in Gaza. You don't think the people of Gaza look at this shit and be like, yo, what the fuck? It's like, y'all just doing us like that? Yeah, just like we see it, they see it too.
Remember that this law only targets Palestinians and not even Israelis that the state itself considers terrorists or convicted of terror attacks. What Israel wants to do is to enshrine what it's already doing to Palestinians. We talk about extrajudicial killings happening all over the occupied territory when Israel just decides to shoot and kill Palestinians. Some of those who are shot and injured at the site of several attacks have been denied any medical help. Also, when prisoners are taken to Israeli jails, there is this medical negligence. There's torture that has been documented by several human rights organizations that leads to basically these people dying in jails. Now, this is a law that will give the...
Oh no, here's the craziest part. Like some of the prisoners were actually reported of being raped and all this crazy stuff. And when New York Times went in and did a whole little article on it, bro, Israel sued the New York Times, bro. Sued the New York Times and rejected the allegations of, these Palestinian prisoners being raped in this in their jail or their facilities or their prisons or jails. When here's the thing, testimony was coming not only from prisoners but from the guards themselves. So there's that.
Knesset members and give those who passed this law in the Knesset the ability to boast and to try and get more votes in the...
Nah, literally plug. No, they pop bottles in celebration. That was disturbing. And yeah, they laughed and celebrated it too. That was also, shout out to Dan. That was, like I said, this whole event, when I seen that this law passed and I seen all the events and all the cheering and all the stuff that happened after, I was like, hey, yo, this is sick. When people sit there and say that Israel committed a genocide, this is why they say that. Do you understand the genocidal intent that these guys have for Palestinians? It's right in our face. This is why when people say Israel committed a genocide, it's not just because of the numbers of people they killed, it's the intent in which they kill with.
Israeli Knesset in a way, because we are talking about the crackdown on Palestinians, that always gets away with the voters, that always encourages voters to vote and to support these Israeli politicians. In general, we are talking about this technicality. Yes, the Israeli officials signing on the law that has passed by the Knesset, but that only raises the fears of Palestinian families here in the occupied West Bank and also in the Gaza Strip, as it shows to which levels the Israeli institution is intending to.
But all right, guys, let's get into a little... Well, damn, I'm not trying to be a doomer, but why do I got all these doomsday segments lined up? Like, what the hell? But all right, then. I get it is what it is. All right, guys. Corporate AI is delusional. 600 billion just vanished. Yeah, vanished. And this infrastructure cost, guys. Infrastructure cost. Well, let's get right into it.
Big tech just burned through hundreds of billions building the infrastructure for AI. And the return so far? A fraction of the cost. Nowhere close to break even. It might be one of the most expensive bets in modern history. Beneath the polished interface is something most people never even think about: a physical system with real-world limits. Data centers burning through enormous amounts of electricity, power grids pushed closer to their capacity just to keep everything running. And it relies on a hidden army of exploited human labor. You don't get to stay outside of it. You are already interacting with it every day.
Hey man, somebody got to be a slave out here, man. No, an actual literal slave. Like I said, for lithium and cobalt and all that good stuff, we got little kids in mines for that. So, like I said, for this, it's kind of crazy, but to sustain our technological infrastructure, somebody has to be a slave.
world has already committed to a system it may not be able to stop. This is the $1 trillion AI lie. Chapter 1, the receipt nobody wants to read. In 2024, analysts at Sequoia Capital posed a simple question. If AI companies keep spending the way they are right now, how much money would the industry need to make every year to justify it? Their answer was about $600 billion a year.
Okay.
That is not what AI companies are earning today. That's what they
Hey, and shout out to my man Kingen for sending a flow state for 200 joules. Appreciate the support, my man. And shout out for you representing on on Kick as well. Sorry guys, I'm having a brain fart. It's like my second live today. And I'm most likely gonna do a third one later on. We're gonna do them in 4-hour segments. But appreciate the support of Kingen. Oh, bro, and like I said, bro, if you can start doing some clipping and Kick, dog, the last clip you did, dog, I got hella views. People loved it.
would need to earn for all of this to make financial sense. Right now, generative AI is already making real money, billions in annual revenue across companies like OpenAI and Anthropic. Analysts predict AI-driven profits may rise into the trillions by the mid-2030s. But a lot of the reported revenue isn't even profit at all. Anthropic recently scaled its revenue to hundreds of millions per month in 2025. It sounds incredible until you realize it was also expected to lose billions over the course of the year. In mid-2025, OpenAI secured $10 billion worth of funding. But since its operating costs were so steep, it was asking for another $8.3 billion just months later. And Elon Musk's XAI, it was reportedly burning through more than $1 billion every single month just to keep the lights on. It is a serious problem, one that points to something people don't like to talk about. In traditional software, once you build a product, adding more users is cheap. That's why companies like Microsoft and Adobe can become insanely profitable. The cost of serving the next customer is basically nothing. AI, it doesn't work like that. Every time you ask it a question, it costs money, real money. The answer comes from a delicate interplay of computational power, electricity, and infrastructure, which means scaling doesn't.
I'm weak, aka it takes like 5 chat GPT subscriptions to answer one question, aka from one user. Bruh. Yeah, that's bullshit.
Automatically make things more efficient. In some cases, it does the opposite. The more people use the system, the more expensive it becomes to run. The largest companies and investment groups in the world have already committed, with annual spending pushes past $400 billion. AI growth speculation has become a core engine of the S&P 500. It becomes even sketchier when you realize that the broader market built up of retirement accounts, index funds, and otherwise safe investments are all now deeply exposed to the whims of a technology that hasn't even proven it can pay for itself at scale. If the economics of generative AI's future are so uncertain, why does every corporate CEO in the tech world seem so hell-bent on staking everything on its future? According to
it does seem like the foolish mistake we made with AI is putting AI before energy consumption. We didn't understand how to make AI more efficient when it came to energy consumption, or making our consumption of energy more efficient before we came out with AI. And it's biting us in the ass because our energy infrastructure honestly can't take it. And we need to advance our energy infrastructure in order for us to be able to deal with AI and its advancement and its compounding computing power.
Recent survey, roughly 90% of CEOs say AI will fundamentally change their companies by 2028. It's a huge number. But when you look at the actual financial data, the reality is brutal. Only 25% of AI initiatives are actually delivering their expected ROI. 9 out of 10 executives believe the technology is essential, but only about 1 in 4 can explain how it actually makes money. What once felt like a strategy now seems like corporate peer pressure. And you see it playing out in real time. Each company tries to outdo the next, rushing out AI initiatives, talking about AI-first strategies, buying up massive quantities of GPUs because not buying them looks worse. If this amounts to the corporate version of a gold rush, nobody wants to be the one who showed up without the shovel. And that's where we're at right now. Infrastructure is being built up at full speed. The spending is already committed and seed money raised, but the returns are barely keeping pace. Chapter 2, Success That Makes You Poorer. Over the past few years, a quiet industry has emerged to support AI systems. Things like data labeling, content moderation, and output verification have all grown as the core tasks that make models usable in the real world. They're basically the difference between a raw system that produces chaotic, inappropriate outputs and one that can answer questions without embarrassing the company that built it. All of that work happens outside of the model itself, in offices and call center style environments in places like Kenya, the Philippines, and India. Thousands of workers spend their days correcting the mistakes that AI systems still make constantly. In some documented cases, they're paid just a few dollars an hour to filter out.
What? Yo, I'm sorry, but how much would you get paid for that in America? Hold on. I'm sorry, but I kind of got to look that up. Hold on. So AI content moderator jobs. Oh, how much you getting paid for that? What, like here, work from home, train AI, you get paid $20 an hour. Really? Well, I get paid way more than that. But I mean, that's not bad. That's not bad. Let me see here. AI moderator salary. Since these guys getting paid $2, let's see here. AI content moderator salaries ranges from $45,000 to $150,000 annually, heavily depending on whether the role involves manual content review or training and evaluating the artificial intelligence models themselves. All right, so it's like a tier thing. All right, so you can start off from like what at 45 entry level, 40. Damn. So bro, they're paying those people $2 for something that we're paying somebody $20 an hour for, maybe a little bit less in some cases. Huh.
Violent or explicit content. According to one report, content moderators in second and third world countries navigate a combination of psychological trauma, poverty wages, and the suppression of union organizing conditions.
Bro, like, I'm sorry, it's fucked up to say this, but who competing with that? Dog, if you're an AI content moderator here, you're making a decent living. $2 an hour in India? Yeah, we're not beating that. It's no wonder these guys outsource, because who the hell's going to work for $2 an hour on a job that you should be getting paid $45,000 a year on? It equals at about $18 to $20 an hour.
Considered intolerable under Western labor laws. It sounds less like a futuristic breakthrough and more like something out of the 19th century. And that's because in some ways it is. The marketing language around AI suggests autonomy, machines that can think, learn, and act, replacing human effort altogether. The reality is closer to something older and more familiar. It's a layered system where the most visible tip of the iceberg is clean and efficient, and the least visible part, the system's inner core, is messy, labor-intensive, and easy to ignore. That doesn't mean the technology is fake, but at second glance, the word artificial is doing an awful lot of heavy lifting. A large portion of the work that makes these systems run is still very human. That human system doesn't disappear as the system scales. If anything, it just becomes more important. When the system relies on both massive compute infrastructure and ongoing human input, then the cost structure starts to look very different than the one most people imagine. Rather than a clean, self-improving machine, you get something closer to a hybrid, part automated, part manual support, both constantly maintained. At the beginning of the AI boom, researchers found out that a huge percentage of companies calling themselves AI startups weren't actually using any meaningful AI in their core products. In some cases, it was as high as 40%. That didn't necessarily mean fraud, but it did hint at something even more important. From the very beginning, AI became a signal, a way to attract funding, justify higher valuations, and position themselves in a market where everyone was suddenly supposed to have an AI story. By 2024, roughly 78% of all companies reported using AI in some form. Just a year later,
took a whole lot of jobs with them.
1% of all global venture capital was flowing into AI-related businesses. You might expect that after all this adoption, all this investment, we would be seeing clear, consistent returns. Instead, the gains are highly concentrated, with about 75% of the financial benefits reaped by just 20% of the companies. As it turns out, the majority of companies talking about AI aren't actually making that much money from it. They're experimenting, deploying features, and integrating tools, but not transforming their business like everyone thought. In the early days, companies claimed AI without really using it. Today, companies are using it, but they don't know how to make any money off it. And that is a much bigger problem, because now the stakes are higher, the expectations are enormous, and the gap between what's actually happening and what was promised is getting harder to ignore. Chapter 3: The Energy Wall. The deeper constraint on all of this isn't financial, but physical. For years, a simple comparison was repeated that a single AI query can use around 10 times the electricity of a standard web search. That number comes from early estimates, and like most simple comparisons, it's been argued over, updated, and stretched depending on who is making the case. But the part that hasn't really changed is the assertion that AI workloads are simply heavier. By 2022, data centers were already consuming roughly 460 terawatt hours of electricity globally every year. That's about the same as an entire country like Germany or Japan, or 2% of total global demand. By this year, that number could land somewhere between 620 and 1,000 terawatt hours, depending on how aggressively AI keeps growing. When you look into a data center, how that energy is used is somewhat surprising. 40% of the electricity is used for actual computing, the AI doing its thing part. Another 40% is used to just cool the machines down. The remaining 20% goes to everything else, moving the data around, keeping the system stable, basically making sure the whole operation doesn't collapse under its own complexity. So nearly half of the energy we are pouring into AI isn't making it any smarter, it's just keeping it alive. Now zoom out one level. A single large hyperscale data center, the kind companies are building for AI, can consume 100 megawatts of power or more. 1 megawatt can typically power over 150 US homes. 100? Over a year, that's akin to the electricity needed to charge well over 200,000.
Yo, and shout out to my man Noah Joyner. He says we should mix AI with quantum computing. And man, I don't know if we need to do all that now. Like, hold on, but shout out. Appreciate the support, my man. And shout out to my man Noah Joyner and my man Kingen for holding it down on this stream, man. Appreciate you guys. But I don't know about that, man. Quantum computers already talking about being able to crack any code at this point. Mixing it with AI, I mean, now we got a scary situation. Actually, I think it's already happening, to be quite honest with you. I'm pretty sure.
Electric vehicles just for one building. And there are roughly over 8,000 data centers worldwide, with a third of them sitting in the United States alone. Worryingly, studies are now showing that the vast majority of these are located in climates considered way too hot for efficient operation. It's time to stop thinking about the cloud as something abstract. We're talking about a growing network of massive, power-hungry facilities clustered in specific regions, pulling from the same grids that supply homes, schools, and businesses. The demand isn't close to being evenly distributed either. In areas with concentrated pressure, city officials are forced to make trade-offs in real time. Do you expand the grid? Do you raise power prices? Do you slow down development and limit job growth? None of these are easy answers, and none of them deal with the issue of water either. Remember the 40% of energy used to simply cool these mammoth data centers? That often depends on huge volumes of water moving through the system, constantly cycling to carry the heat away. A single large data center can use millions of gallons of water per day, about the same as a town of 30 to 50,000 people. Over a year, even a mid-sized facility can burn through around 100 million gallons just to stay cool. And most of that water does not come back. In many systems, 70 to 80% is lost to evaporation, effectively disappearing into the air. Meanwhile, roughly 75 to 90% of data centers rely on water-based cooling, often pulling from the same rivers and municipal supplies that serve local communities.
I don't know. I feel like I could have found out a better option than just using our water, man. Whatever happened to antifreeze or something like that?
At least one Oregon town, a single company's data center consumed over 25% of the city's water supply. The same system that promises infinite scale is drawing from very finite supplies. Power grids that expand overnight and water systems are already under pressure. The more the system grows, the more it pulls, and right now it's not obvious where the ceiling is. And while all of that strain is building in the fiscal,
I'm saying, like, we literally have to go into a new form of power, if it be 0-point energy or anti-gravity, or maybe, I don't know, maybe something more realistic, like just relying on renewable energies and advancing that.
World, something else is happening inside of companies. Because while AI is pulling more from the outside, it's also quietly pulling something from the inside, their data. Chapter 4, Security Self-Sabotage. According to recent data, about 34.8% of employee inputs into AI now contain sensitive information. That's up from just over 10% in 2023. A third of everything being pasted into your AI chatbot of choice are legal documents, customer data, medical records, source code, and contracts. What's worse, 83% of the companies doing this have absolutely zero technical controls in place to stop it. They can send out policy emails until the cows come home, but the next day they'll turn around and tell those same employees to be faster, more productive, and efficient. The employees now have to decide deadline or policy. They pick the deadline every time. The scale of this security self-own is starting to look like...
Oh, yeah, because, I mean, especially in tech, bro, AI just speeds up the workflow. I mean, you got to fix this code, like correct this feature in this app or this website, and you got a little bit of time to do so. But with AI, I mean, bro, you can get that done ASAP and then pretend and just draw down the clock, if you know what I mean. But yeah, AI definitely does help with jobs like that. And, you know, and that's what I'm saying. AI is a great assistant. I think that's what we should use AI for, as an assistant and not something that's supposed to completely replace humans. If AI could be an assistant, then a lot of people wouldn't really be afraid of AI. If you hand people a little AI assistant, be like, here you go, we're paying you the same and all that, but just to boost your production, here's an AI assistant. Not, hey, yeah, we're bringing in this AI assistant to replace you, bro. Good luck out there.
A slow motion disaster. Over 225,000 ChatGPT credentials have already been found for sale on dark web marketplaces, often harvested from compromised machines or reused passwords. Major companies like Apple, JP Morgan, and Goldman Sachs have either restricted or banned tools like ChatGPT internally after realizing what was happening. Samsung learned the hard way. In early 2023, 3 employees read an email lifting a previous ChatGPT ban and then thought, we're home free. The first went and uploaded proprietary source code to debug a problem they were having. Another copied notes from an internal company meeting into their chat feed, while a third used ChatGPT to identify defective equipment in a semiconductor line. Pretty soon, the ban was back. An internal survey quickly showed that 65% of Samsung employees thought AI tools were a secure...
But all right, guys, let's go ahead and move on to another video about pretty much AI, well, not AI, but Elon Musk suing OpenAI. Let's get into that one. I did want to hear a little bit more.
For you when it comes to Elon Musk's, we also have some updates for you when it comes to Elon Musk's lawsuit against OpenAI and its leaders. That is now going to the jury. Closing arguments concluded on Thursday in the case. This, of course, could have ramifications for the future of artificial intelligence. CNN's AI correspondent Hadas Gold explains.
After 3 weeks of testimony, this massive case between Elon Musk and ChatGPT maker OpenAI has finally rested. This case could completely change the landscape for AI if Elon Musk is successful. Elon Musk's attorneys spent their time of the closing argument trying to show that Musk was deceived after he helped fund and co-found OpenAI with $38 million because they argue that OpenAI ditched its nonprofit mission of creating a safe AI for the benefit of humanity in favor of profits, alleging that they breached a charity.
So if it's a nonprofit mission, aka it was never meant to make a profit then, and it was what, just meant to burn our resources while not turning over a profit? I mean, I don't know, bro. That sounds like it's something that might collapse on itself.
Trust that the OpenAI executives unjustly enriched themselves to the tunes of billions of dollars, partly based off of the millions of dollars that Elon Musk gave to what was then a pure nonprofit. OpenAI, since its founding, has now transitioned to having a for-profit structure overseen by a nonprofit foundation. Musk's attorneys also spent time trying to paint OpenAI CEO Sam Altman as dishonest, as untrustworthy, pointing to the brief period of time in 2023 when he was ousted as CEO by the then board for what the board said was not being candid in his communications. Altman was reinstated a few days after his ousting, after almost all of the OpenAI employees threatened to resign. OpenAI's attorneys tried to argue that Elon Musk was just bringing this case because of essentially sour grapes. They said that he's bringing this case much too late. They pointed to
It is interesting how we just watched a video about how AI is like not even profitable because of the infrastructure costs. Then we find out that OpenAI was supposed to be used for humanitarian purposes, aka they walked in knowing that AI wasn't profitable.
of limitations. They say that Elon Musk himself wanted to create a for-profit entity when he was involved in OpenAI, but that he wanted to have full control of that for-profit entity to the point of him saying that he would pass that control along to his children if he were to die. That's something that Sam Altman testified to. They say that when Elon Musk was unsuccessful in gaining full control of OpenAI, he then left, trying to recruit OpenAI employees to Tesla, where he was working on AI there, and then eventually creating his own competitor, XAI. OpenAI saying that Elon Musk is just bringing this case to try to bring a competitor down. Now the jury will deliberate and they will bring their verdict to the judge. It's on an advisory verdict to the judge, who will make the ultimate decision. It will also be up to the judge on any remedies. Elon Musk is seeking very severe remedies in this case. They include that OpenAI would revert back to a nonprofit. That would completely scramble OpenAI's plans, including for an IPO. OpenAI is right now one of the most valuable companies in the world. He is also seeking that Sam Altman and Greg Brockman lose their jobs as the leaders of OpenAI, and he wants something like more than $130 billion to be put back in to the OpenAI nonprofit. But it's ultimately up to the judge in this case to decide what, if any, remedies Elon Musk will get. We don't know when that verdict will come, but we do expect it within the next week or so.
Humble CEO says that people are just feeling exhausted about the constant swiping to find a match. So now they've announced that it is all getting an AI makeover and introducing a new AI assistant to act as matchmakers.
I'm sorry, but these dating apps are cooked. And y'all, I'm sorry, but if you're going to add AI to these dating apps, you're only going to make it worse. I swear to God. And you know what? AI might actually, put women with the guys that they want. But this could honestly lead up to the fact this could make all the red pill guys be vindicated when they all start choosing the same guy. And AI is going to lead them right to it. But hey, it is what it is.
Today, we're going to take a look at the risks of this developing technology. Last month, you might remember, we looked at the chilling messages between Phoenix Eichner, the suspect in last year's shooting at Florida State University, and the AI.
All right. Hold on now. Hold on. ChatGPT incurred shooting.
Chatbot, ChatGPT. For months, Eichner told the chatbot about his loneliness and his resentment. Later, when asked about weapons and violence, the chatbot.
Hey, shout out to my man Noah Joyner. Appreciate the support, my man. He says, if we're worried about running out of it, then we need to repurpose what we have and go gather more materials from space. Literally just start doing asteroid mining. Trust me, I'm with you on that one. When it comes to asteroid mining, I'm with you. But also, we should have just advanced our energy infrastructure if we were going to tap into AI. If not, then we should have just dumbed it down to what our infrastructure could handle. But like I said, we put the cart before the horse when it came to AI. Like, obviously, and it's proving to be obvious every day at this point.
Failed to make any connections that a human might, that something might be.
All right, here. Let's see here. Did I want to finish that? I know, Nick Fuentes hopped on with Dave Smith. And then there was the one, and of course, there was the finish up I wanted to do with the one he did with Steven Crowder. You know what? Let's finish up the one he did with Steven Crowder. I think I had 45 minutes on that left. All right, guys, make sure to double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Appreciate the support, by the way, even with the shadow ban. Even with the shadow ban, we're getting pretty good support. So shout out to you guys. Well, let's see here. Let's go ahead and go back on this a little bit. All right.
As well, because we bitch about their power over institutions, but don't seem to have the spot.
All right, here.
I can't believe the most unlikable human being alive in Kasich, who thought he had a chance in the National. So let's just agree.
All right. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let me go ahead and right here then.
But they took over every institution by design, said this is going to be systematic. It's going to take a while. And people on the right go, I don't have everything at once. So let me work with those who seized power over all these institutions.
I just feel like we've tried it that way. I mean, so Trump is going to leave office in 2029 regardless. He came down the escalator in 15, so got elected in 16. Republicans win the Senate in 14. So it's like, let's say from Republicans winning the Senate in 14 until 2029, that's 15 years. Has anything gotten better in that time? Like, we're in a war with Iran.
Well, yeah, I would say that's where we go back to. But let's talk about institutions. Let's talk about culturally. Media. The fact that you and I are having this conversation, that's huge. This wouldn't happen just 4 or 5 years ago. Let's call it 6 years ago. Racially based admissions in college. That took a Supreme Court, by the way, a slow walk, boom, done. Also DEI in not only the federal government, but in any institutions that are subsidized federally. That's a big one, right? This lays the groundwork. The media now, legacy media, who controlled a lot of information, is irrelevant. And I will tell you my approach outside of just discussing yours. People will often ask me, hey, should conservatives do what the left did? Should people on the right, America First, do what the left did and try and go into jobs, for example, in media or in academia? And I've said, no. The point now is to continue to accelerate their descent into irrelevancy, because now there are ways to sidestep it. We need to accelerate the irrelevancy of a degree from an Ivy League school. So those institutions are no longer relevant. We need to accelerate the irrelevancy, for example, and we're already seeing it, but ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, we see it with you getting bigger numbers than whoever the hell, Brian Stelter, completely straight on CNN right now. It's a slow walk, and now these are rapid accelerations and overtaking cultural ground. That's why you're as influential as you are. That's why we're able to have this conversation. It's not a small thing, but there does need to be some unity in a common enemy. And that's why I started this with, is it the left, those who hate America? Because those are undeniable big wins.
Well, yeah, you're not wrong about the left being the enemy. To me, it's just a question of who will fight them. And I want a better right. I think that the right is not really putting up a real fight with the left. I actually don't even know that there's a huge distinction between the right and the left. And I know you disagree with that and you think there's like a big difference, but I think that they've kind of been holding hands, walking us down the same path for a very long time, which is in terms of the big picture, it's free trade.
The heck?
The line's very
social
far.
Conservatism isn't dead.
Trump wanted in the SAVE Act, they said, we're not going to let kids transition unless their parents allow them to. Like,
but I'm talking exactly. And that's what blew me with the whole like transgender agenda. Like, here's the thing. These guys harp on it, say that, oh, the Dems want to trans your kids. Well, guess what? The Republicans also want to let you also is going to let these crazy parents trans their kids. Well, AKA, they don't mind or they don't care about the transes of kids either. Just like the Democrats don't care. And it's kind of effed up because, like I said, he did all that campaigning on it just to kind of sell out and say, well, you can trans your kids, as long as you're the parent and you're saying that your kids can be trans. And let's be real, that was that was one of our main concerns in the first place, is these crazy leftist parents playing into their kids' delusion, allowing them to make a life-altering decision that they can never take back. And nothing's been done about it.
About culturally, the views on abortion have actually become far more moderated, especially in the wake of Dobbs, Roe v. Wade. If you look at the public perception of transgenderism, that's changed dramatically. If you look at the public cancel culture, remember, that's no longer a thing. Also on that one, Trump said it backtracked immediately after backlash because he's responsive to them. But no, this is the social conservatism actually in a lot of ways. People, there's a resurgence in it. I know because you've discussed it. You see what they call the manosphere. People like Andrew Wilson out there, people wanting to solve the problem of marriage because that is an issue, people wanting families. The very fact that people are saying, hey, the American dream is out of reach is because they've realized that they've been sold a false bill of goods through these institutions, right? Be a boss, babe, go out, be promiscuous, have your abortions. Like, well, I don't want that, but houses are still too expensive. And I would agree, they're coming down, but they're still too expensive. I would not agree at all that social conservatism is dead. It's certainly much more mainstream and acceptable than it was when I was, a teenager.
I disagree. I think you look at the GOP now, they're religiously pluralistic. They have all these like Hindus involved, like Charlie Kirk wanted to call it ethical monotheism is like the new credo. So we can incorporate all these other traditions. You have the Trump administration's pro-IVF. They're not fighting on gay marriage. They have all kinds of gay people in the administration. They're not fighting on abortion. They overturned Roe. Now they don't want to do anything more about it. And then even with the transgenders, it's like, to me, that's the furthest, most extreme reach. And they're barely able to draw a line on that. They're not fighting feminism at all. You think about the party 20 years ago, and there was like a moral majority, and you had these like
Buchanan,
extremely Christian. Sure, but even under the Bush administration, now I feel like they've just kind of given that up. And now this administration is like, not everybody's Christian. Like I said, you've got some of these deviants involved. So you have to admit that that's not really as much.
I don't know. I think they're playing, if anything they're keeping up with is that Christian overtone. If anything, they're playing that a little bit too hard.
Much of a part of the platform as it was under Reagan or Bush 1 or 2. It is a much less socially conservative party.
You just skim past Dobbs Roe v. Wade overturn. Like you skimmed past that. That's monumental.
Yeah, I mean,
I get it's not everything. It's not everything, but it is the single biggest, most impactful policy on abortion, which, by the way, we all assumed was a foregone conclusion in a degenerate society. It came as a shock, and it was such a shock the left rallied behind it, right? Can we just you can't skim past that. It's not perfect, but that's a huge change.
I mean, to me, it's not a question of perfect. It's just when you look at the overall climate, is this Republican Party as Christian as it was 20 years ago? Absolutely not. Would you argue that?
I think young people are absolutely more Christian receptive. And when you look at church attendance, particularly in more traditional denominations like Catholicism and Orthodox, I know people will argue that they're not growing as fast, but they are growing quite a bit, especially among young men. Yeah, when I was a teenager, I'm in my 30s. It was rock against Bush, right? Swastika on his head. By the way, left has done that with every single person, and it was a non-starter. There was no Christendom. If you showed up in a film, you were the serial killer. This idea was just women's choice, my body, and you had to sidestep it and say, well, if there was no thought that Roe v. Wade would actually be overturned. It was a pie in the sky dream. I would argue that certainly with younger people, they are significantly more Christian than even those who used to be a libertarian thing. Like it used to be a Tucker Carlson lookalike convention at CPAC stuff. This is pre-fly fishing Tucker, bow tie Tucker era. So I think with young people, they're definitely more, if not Christian, but Christian receptive and traditional.
To me, I guess overall, I'm just not as impressed with the progress that we've made over the past couple of decades. Maybe that's the difference. As you sort of look at as glass half full, at least we got Roe, and at least we're trying to do these things, and hey, it's incremental and it takes time. And me, I feel like we're staring down the barrel of a gun where it's like we're about to become a minority as white people. The immigration thing, it's already kind of been done to us. We need something radical and urgent because otherwise it's going to be a slow descent and that's not a victory.
But what'll it fix? So let's assume, and I can't, but let's assume you have the concretes, the roster. That was my first question. It'll still be my last. Roster, funds, ground game. Okay, you get that guy in. You're still going to run into 100% of the Democrat Party opposing it, and you're still always going to have some Republicans who are useless. So let's assume you do that. How does that get you radical change within 2 years like you demand? Or you basically, sabotage them?
See, but this is a straw man. It's not about 2 years. This is Trump's second term. Republicans have been in control since 2022 of the House and the Senate. So it's like it's not like we said, oh, you got 2 years. I gave them 2 years in 2016 and they did nothing. And then we said, okay, 2018, then 2020.
You say nothing again. Can you say he didn't do as much as you would like, but not nothing?
They didn't build a wall. They didn't repeal Obamacare. Then they cut the corporate tax rate by 10%. So it's like meaningfully, what did they really do? They didn't, illegal immigration was really bad. So it's like, again, it's not 2 years. It's been a long time coming. And so
back
I
then
would just
the vote was on the economy, and it was the rip-roaringest economy that we had seen in our lifetime.
These are excuses. These are narratives.
I'm saying when people vote on immigration, when people vote on the economy and they run on those platforms, they're held accountable to those platforms. You said you don't care about the platform of immigration, which was the big issue this time. The first election, it was entirely about the economy. So if you want to say, okay, record low inflation where we actually saw employment come back, onshoring jobs, that's nothing, you can say it, but be honest with people and say that doesn't mean anything to you, just like immigration doesn't mean anything to you now. Just be honest. Don't call it nothing.
That's dishonest to say. Obviously, I care about immigration, but 2016 was about build the wall. They didn't. They fed us this line and said, well, we need to fix the economy first so we could win the midterms. Okay, well, then you lost the midterms. And then we never got a border wall. It's like, so, this is what I'm talking about. It just never gets done and never happens. If we win, well, we don't have enough power. If we lose, well, we weren't in power. It's like, okay, so when do we get the border wall? When do we get the deportations? When do we not go to war with Iran? When do we not spend $2 trillion on the military? Like, that's the thing. So I want to try somebody that's actually going to do what they promised to do.
Who?
someone will rise up. And you will see, and you'll be very happy.
That's the pitch. It didn't happen in the other ones, but it'll happen this time. It didn't happen in 2020. Didn't happen in 22. Didn't happen in 2024, but it'll happen
22
now.
is an off year. It happened in 2016.
It's about the primaries, but yeah, because you've advocated this or sitting out, and that's a problem. And here's the thing. I'm sure you remember the Tea Party. I want a more conservative Republican Party. But I also look and go, okay, Rubio, for example, so you mentioned the Christian thing, standing up, creating a video singularly about returning to Christian roots for Day of Prayer, setting one nation under, and you say it doesn't mean anything.
Speech.
Well, just like you just cited speech instead of policy as it relates to immigration. Like they're saying this. Yeah, but the H-1B numbers don't reflect that. So in this case,
they're not doing the raids. They're not doing they're not.
So in one case you go speech,
cities.
you go speech, I go policies, you go, yeah, but speech.
No.
And then I go numbers and you go, yeah, but rhetoric. And then in the other case you go executive order. I go, yeah, but then you go, well then, yeah, but Republicans aren't getting this through Congress. It seems like you can just
Rubio's
focus on
great
failure.
because he gave a speech. It's like, who cares that he gave a speech? Rubio's a neocon. He's backed by Miriam Adelson.
Because the discussion was about you were saying culturally Christian. The party is not as far as the rhetoric as Christian as it used to be. And I'm saying this is a change. Rubio saying that. Is that significant? Because you wouldn't get a Democrat saying that.
Okay.
No?
Like this is what I'm talking about. Like we're being promised golden age, vast deportations. And you're like, well, Rubio gave a speech about being Christian.
No, it's not. That's not. You're being dishonest. You just said I was being dishonest and saying you said you don't care about immigration. I believe your exact quote is, I don't give a fuck about immigration. The only thing keeping me alive is my war against Israel at this point. Do I have that close to correct? So don't tell me I'm being dishonest.
Hyperbolic. That's rhetoric.
It's hyperbolic.
But we addressed that. We addressed that already. And I said, like, look, immigration is something that they're always baiting us with and they never do anything about. And then when they do the bare minimum, they say, well, it's better than nothing. And you go, well, theoretically, yeah, but if it doesn't meaningfully change anything, then it's not worth sacrificing other issues.
Sure.
So by and large, I would just say, look, 10 years into the Trump movement, we don't have the country that we want. They've had more than enough time. I think it's time to just do something radical and send a message, which is, we're not happy. I'm not happy with it.
Yo, and shout out to my man Kingan for sending 10 joules sending a thumbs up for 10 joules. Appreciate the support, my man. You know what? I agree on the whole idea of, we need to make the Republicans pay. But honestly, I think that's something that's gonna self-correct. Because like I said, they keep on going with this Iran war and the economy keeps seeing these bad numbers. Then I'm gonna be real with you. They're gonna cook themselves in the midterms, and we don't even have to vote for Democrats. The Democrats are just gonna have a higher voter turnout, and the independents are gonna vote for Dems. So really, we don't even gotta do all that by voting for Dems. I'm gonna be real with you. I mean, the way the Trump administration is acting, they're gonna ensure that for us. They're gonna ensure that the Dems get in without us having to lift a finger or having to send in any type of ballot for a Dem.
You may be happy and say, well, what about this? What about that? We're in a war with Iran.
Trust me, I agree on the premise that, the Republican Party do need to be punished. I agree on the premise of that, but the execution, not so much.
Deportations aren't there. What more is there to say? That's where I'm coming at it from.
We are in a conflict with Iran. And by the way, I think last time you were on the show, you said like we might be more aligned on the initial strikes in Iran than I would think. Deportations are there. And again, I'll make the numbers available because even the one you said with the New York Times, they're not as much as I would like to be, but it's different from 10 to 20 million illegals. I still would ask you the same question, right? That's the point. And I get it. You don't have an answer. For me to vote Democrat, let me try it another way, okay? Because I want to make sure that we're aligned on what we want. All right. Let's say I'm a candidate, and I don't want to say your district because I don't want another angry old Jew lady to show up, but in general, Illinois-ish. I'm running. I go, okay, I understand. I hear it. Young Americans don't have this as well as they should. Okay, look, all right, here's what I'm going to do for you. I am going to vote for, and I am going to support, of course, pausing all illegal immigration. We're going to close the border down. We're going to start building the wall. Okay, we're going to do this. Okay, we're blocked by Democrats, but here's what we're going to do. We're going to reduce H-1Bs by 87%. These things are suppressing your wages. All right, we're going to do everything we can to bring down the cost of rent. We're going to do everything we can to try and make housing.
I mean, here's a problem. When he says bring down H-1B visas by 87%, when we literally hit the cap for H-1B visas, and the cap for H-1B visas, guys, is about 85,000, people, and we hit that cap. So how did we reduce it? Unless we reduce the cap from, I don't know what, like 200,000 to 85,000, then okay, sure. But that's not what happened. We didn't reduce the cap at all. And we hit cap last year for H-1B visa. So what Steven Crowder is saying is incorrect, just based on the numbers alone.
More affordable. Here's what we're going to do as far as jobs. Okay, jobs. We're going to punish companies that are offshoring. We're going to use tariffs. We're going to incentivize companies that are onshoring. We're going to codify these taxes into law. We're going to try and do this to remove the effects that are suppressing your wages as a young American, so you don't see what the Democrats would have, which is a 20+% unemployment rate. We're going to get rid of DEI. We're going to get rid of, just for you guys, we're going to get rid of racially based admissions. We're going to have a Supreme Court that rules on these and overturns them. More money back in your pocket. Try and make sure that we can employ American workers. America first. But that's not enough, because I will do that. And how do I be the guy to get your vote, Nick?
Mass deportations, build the wall, keep us out of war with Iran. Period. That's all you had to do. That's all they had to do to keep me happy, and that's all the next president has to do to make me happy.
Okay.
It's not happening.
So how do I So it comes down to those. We understand that requires, right, going through Congress. So what you really mean is
the whole war, no war with Iran is pretty crucial, because as you see, it F's up the rest of the Make America Great Again or the America First agenda, as you've seen, when it comes to the whole affordability, when it comes to immigration, all this stuff. Yeah, this war is effing up.
Use the nuclear option to get the wall passed.
You don't even, Stephen, you don't even need it, because they passed the big, beautiful bill. They have the money. They got $190 billion. Wasn't that the pitch? We're going to cut Medicaid to pay for a corporate tax rate, but that's okay, because we're going to allocate $190 billion to fund DHS in perpetuity, $90 billion for ICE, $20 billion for a border wall. But it's not that they can't do it. They won't do it. ICE and CBP didn't even shut down when the Democrats shut down DHS, because they were funded through the next 5 years from the BBB from last year in June. But they're not doing it because they don't want to get rid of the farmers. They don't want to get rid of this, that, because the donors don't want them to. They don't want to build the wall for reasons like Trump can't get his favored companies to get the contract. So they're just giving up. Like, that's the problem. You can't blame the Democrats on this one. Why are they not doing more? I mean, you tell me. They have the money. Why are they not doing raids? Why are they not shutting everybody down? Why is the border wall not finished by now?
It's not finished. It is being built. So, but here's my point, right? That rhetoric, you're like, do it. Okay, but right now you're not going to trust anyone who says they will do it, because there is gridlock. You do have to admit. But someone campaigns on it, and I've heard you say, well, they're not going to do it. So how do I get your vote? In other words, I know that Nick Fuentes and his people are going to vote Democrat. They don't have anyone. They don't have grassroots. They don't have funding. So I want to be that guy and step up as tribute. How? You're saying the person is they will come, and how is give me the exact rhetoric that I've rejected, because I've said it's nothing but broken promises and dismissed all of it. I don't think there's any world in which any candidate would fit the bill. And I don't think there's any world, frankly, Nick, in which you or have a ground game, the finances to go up against the donor class, to go up against, frankly, the fact that when Democrats attain power, you're going to be looking at a moderate Republican, because then people's perceptions and their priorities shift toward winning. That's what we see historically. I understand where your heart, because my heart is there too, in not wanting moderate Republicans. I think it's objectively the worst path forward and guarantees destruction. But I think we disagree on that, because you think it's certain destruction anyway, and there's no difference. And I can respect that.
There's no other option. There's no other option. I mean, Vance and Rubio, these are horrible options. They're not going to cut it. They are a part of this administration. It's going to be an extension of this administration. And these past two administrations under Trump have been objectively a failure. As far as I'm concerned, there's literally no other option other than to burn this down and hope that something else will be there, because this ain't going to work. And, you can say all that, but it's like if Donald Trump running in 24, if he can't get mass deportations, if he can't build the wall, if he can't keep us out of war with Iran, how is Rubio and Vance, how are they going to be any better? They were a part of this. They don't have the cult of personality around them. They're not ideologically aligned with Trump. They're going to be worse. Mm-hmm. So you either have something worse than this, or you have a Democrat. I'm rejecting all of it and saying, weaken the Republicans, get somebody better in 28. Open up that space for somebody to show up.
Well, you rapid fire that, and we keep going because this is the way our brain works, so I'm not condemning you for it. But Donald Trump did not say that we would never be in a war with Iran. You can go back to 1980, where he has consistently said, I will use the military against Iran. You may not, 1980, 1987, 93, 96, 2011, and that escalator speech. You may not agree with it, but it's not like he has doubled back on that. He said no new forever wars in the history of wars, 70-something days is remarkably short. I hope it ends soon, like I said, and give it 3 months, then we'll check back. I'll share the same opinion that you would. We said, okay, there's no difference in deportations. I disagree because even the New York Times article that you cite, I remember that it was.
All right, guys, I got to close it down. I got to get something to eat, something actually to eat besides these nuggets here. But all right, though, let me go ahead and close out on this one, guys. Make sure you guys double tap that screen on your way out and make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, guys. Appreciate the support. This is Set with Set Media. I will catch you later on tonight, guys. Appreciate the support. Peace. Yo, this is Set with Set Media, man. I'm here to talk to you about our partner, Kalshi. Kalshi is the largest legal prediction market in the United States with over 1 million users. It's available in all 50 states. They are a real money market. People trading on what they think will happen. You can build a position and trade in and out of almost any prediction you think. Kalshi facilitates trade between people kind of like the stock market. There's no limiting your trades just because you're winning. Kalshi will pay you interest on your position. So if you make a long-term trade, you can earn a return even before the market is resolved. If you want to try out Kalshi, go ahead and give them a try, guys, at my link, kalshi.com/setmedia. Get $20 when you trade 20, so it's 20 for 20, guys. Once again, that's kalshi.com/setmedia. Go ahead and use my code SETMedia to get $20 when you trade 20. Let's go ahead and take a look here at Kalshi, because like I said, it is a trading market where you can put in your prediction and you can go ahead and earn interest on that. You can make money off the knowledge that you know, and if you put $20 in, you get $20 back. So all right, guys, make sure to go check out my guy at Kalshi, because you can get in on good trades like who will Trump nominate as Fed chair? Will Ali Khamenei be outed as the supreme leader? And will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027? So if you want to get in on this action, once again, go ahead and go to my partners at Kalshi. Go ahead and use the link, or you can hit the QR code above and use Set Media to go ahead and get $20 when you trade 20. This is Set from Set Media, and shout out to Kalshi.